You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Woo! So much to unpack. I'm committed to you all, as you can see, because, it is late recording this episode, but I was not going to miss reviewing the Oscars, but I won't get into all of that. I gotta get with this episode, but I will review the Oscars in this show. But I wanted to make sure that I just say there was a lot. And I'm so excited to talk about it. So we will review the Academy Awards later in this episode, but there's just so much to talk about. I mean, this was a hell of a week for me in so many different ways. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? I guess let's start with the beginning of the week. My younger brother had his 23rd birthday. He went to New York City for the weekend, but he spent his actual B-Day with his big brother. And we went to the Pyramid Club for dinner, which was really nice. And we went to go see Tina the Musical, which is the third time I've seen Tina. Like, I love that musical. It is one of my favorite jukebox musicals, if that makes sense. Jukebox musicals, as some of you all know, is like musicals that are like, they use music from an artist, a very popular artist, and it typically is a biopic or like not a biopic because it's not a movie, so I can't call it a biopic, but a bio musical, I guess, basically about the artist's life. Or they might use the music and incorporate it into another story. But either way it goes, most of the music in this particular musical is music that we already have heard or know about, that's already been mainstream. It's not original. So that's what they mean by a jukebox musical. And people have their thoughts about jukebox musicals on Broadway because the critique is that they think it's a money grab to get people to go to the show. Are they going to the show because they're interested in the actual theater, or are they just looking for impersonators of a famous artist and have a mini concert? So some people have said this about MJ the musical, the Michael Jackson musical, which me and my younger brother saw when it came to Philly. And people argue, was it really that good, or was it just that people love the music and it's an easy way to go? There are what I call original musicals that are like Gypsy, or Phantom of the Opera, or Into the Woods. Original musicals where they made it for the stage, compared to adaptations like, for example, The Lion King, or what's another popular one? I'm thinking of something that's Moulin Rouge. Basically, these are the type of musicals that they were already done on film, or they've been done somewhere else, or a TV show or something. And basically, the question becomes, for those who are into theater, is it popular because you really liked the actual content, or are you following a trend? And so there has been a critique that Broadway lately has been doing a lot of revivals of very popular musicals, or doing film adaptations. There's not that many organic original Broadway musicals out as they used to be. For example, Wicked was an adaptation of a very popular book, but I will give Wicked credit because, one would argue Harry Potter was a movie. First it was a book, then it was a movie, then it became a Broadway sensation. Was it there's a Stranger Things production at one point. I think it was a play, I believe, or a musical. I think it was a play. But it was like a Stranger Things play. Basically people are saying they're tired of adaptations and things. It's kind of like the Marvel superheroes trend. A lot of what we're seeing happening right now in Hollywood is that there's been a lot of superhero blockbusters or sequels versus original films. That's why Sinners is a very notable film because of the fact that it was original. It was original screenplay. You know, it was original story. It was something that we hadn't heard before. It was only for the movie. It wasn't adapted from another book or any other source material. It was an original movie that you had to see because there was nothing else that you could have been able to source it from. So that's what I mean. There's not that much of that on Broadway as it used to. And so I say all this to say that Tina stands out to me because even though it is her music, I felt like the story and the talent on the stage really was dynamite. Like the play Tina Turner, I've seen it 3 times. I saw it on Broadway. I saw it at Ensemble Arts like about 2 years ago. And then I saw it again this weekend, not this weekend, this past week at Miller Theater. So I saw it at Academy of Music. First, I saw it on Broadway. I saw it at the Academy of Music, which was a very large, big stage, and now it's the Miller, which is a little bit more intimate and smaller. But the fact that it's come back to Philly so soon, it just is a testament to how popular the musical still is, and that is one of those cities. Philadelphia is one of those cities where they don't skip us because clearly, I went and it was packed. It was packed. Like it was a lot of people in there on a I think it was a Wednesday night. A Wednesday night. And people was out for Tina. So the music, the artist, not the people might get that joke. But no, people were out for her. People really love her. And RIP to her. She's a queen. She's a what I loved about it. And I realized when I was talking to my brother about comparing it to the Michael Jackson musical, because the movie's coming out. I saw the trailer. I'm excited to see it. I already know that it's going to be highly edited and sanitized, and that's my biggest frustration, is that I'm not really watching it for, I don't know, like I feel like Michael Jackson's life, especially this film, it's not going to touch the scandals. It's not going to get into that second part of his life, which I find to be, for a biopic, the most interesting, because we've seen what we're going to see in this film. Anyone who saw that VH1 film about the Jackson 5, A Legacy, remember that movie? Anybody remember that? It was always on TV. It was always on cable. I remember watching it on VH1 a bunch of times. But they did a made-for-TV movie about his early life. This film is going to include his adulthood, like when he got solo. So there is some context there. But I remember seeing another film that was a TV movie that had Flex Washington playing him. I don't know if it was that good, but I remember that. And again, it's always like very, like they trickle on it. Even this Michael Jackson musical that I just watched last year, it was fun. It was entertaining. I met the guy who won, the young actor Miles Frost, who won the Tony for Best Lead Actor in a Musical at the Grammys, because I believe it got nominated for a Grammy, and I think he won. I think it won. I think he won a Grammy too, or was nominated for that original Broadway soundtrack. So, that was sanitized as well. It was very, like, they talked about him trying to make a comeback, how much he invested in his tour. I think this was the Scream tour, or the Bad tour. Was it the Bad tour? I think it was like the Bad tour. And it was like, they were just talking about how he was having money problems. They were beginning a conversation about his health and wellness. Like, it was kind of like foreshadowing, like, how early that was. But they were talking about the rumors and things being said. But they didn't really address the actual allegations nor dive deep into it. And so I will say the Michael Jackson estate, the way that they've been able to curate and hold on to his legacy in a way that avoids the tough conversations about his career towards the end of his life is, listen, Kris Jenner maybe number one on the ranking of keeping a legacy going, because they have just avoided a lot of those criticisms and concerns. So for those who are looking forward to watching this film, just know I've seen some clips and I definitely saw the new trailer. What I will tell you all from my research is that it's not going there. Like it's going to really continue to be a very lifted aspect of the earlier parts of his career. I don't even think they're going to even touch the part where his skin, his vitiligo and all that. The Lisa Marie Presley, they're just going to, I think they're really trying to get away from the controversial aspect of his life, which the first half of his career is the more aspirational, I guess, or inspirational, both. So it's there. But back to Tina. Why I say all this to say that the Tina musical, the reason why I love it, and I think it's like probably, you know what? I'm gonna go there. I will say it's my all-time favorite jukebox musical, is because it goes into her life. And what I really loved about this is that it really continues on. So if you've seen the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, it is that, and then there's more. It continues beyond just that. And I loved that aspect of it. And there's more depth with her relationship with her children. They talk about her mother, her relationship with her mother in a more in-depth way than the movie did. There's just so much more to the story. And so I really appreciate that you walk away really inspired by this woman's life, the complexities, challenges. It's just a beautiful, inspirational musical and highly recommend it. And my younger brother approved. He said he enjoyed it more than the Michael Jackson musical. And he really liked the Michael Jackson musical, but he really felt like this one was he just felt like he learned more. And I feel like he also learned more about Tina Turner in general. So that was dope. The ending is always one of my favorite endings of a musical. That encore that is at the end, and I don't want to give it all away, but if you have not gotten a chance to see it, try to get tickets and go. It's worth it. Go. Just go. It's really, really good. And I would also add that that encore at the end, every time I stand up, I clap, I sing the songs, like I'm into it. Like I'm really into it. It has the best encore, like, at the end. Because sometimes, people, they end the show, they do a little song. But the way, it's like, it feels like you're at a concert, like you rocked out. Like it just really ends on a very high note. There is a dramatic conclusion at the end of the musical. But the beautiful thing is that the way that the musical ends, like really ends at the very end, you walk away feeling super inspired and just, yeah, like you just love it. So yeah, just big fan of that musical. Can't give it enough praise. Like I really truly love it. Just a great production, especially at a time where people need to remember that. you know it just, maybe we can, maybe this is different. So yeah, it was a great time. But then after that, I went to Austin, and that was what I spent most of my week doing. I went to Austin and rocked out. It was quite the experience. Austin, Texas, baby. Okay, South by Southwest. Your fave was there. So first of all, shout out to Podcast Movements for for paying me to speak, for an incredible opportunity, because I've never been to South by Southwest ever. And it was something that was like on my bucket list. And not just in the sense of going to the festival and experiencing it as just simply a guest, but to have the opportunity to participate in a way like this. I'm just so grateful to them. The Podcast Movements group was dope. Made some really great connections. Really made some good connections. And yeah, there's gonna be more to come. My agent told me over the weekend, was like, listen, we gotta talk. I'm like, normally I get a phone call, but my agent got some big stuff for me coming up, and I am super excited. He was like, we need to get on a Zoom. And I've been with my agent for 5 years now. It's been about 5 years. And when he says Zoom, that means this is a convo. No. And what I mean by this is South by Southwest was not a Zoom. It was he emailed me, was like, yo, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, let's book the dates, let's figure it out. But he's like, we need to do a Zoom. Like, we need a Zoom. Something is that kind of conversation. And there's only been a few times we had that kind of conversation, and it was epic. So we're having that kind of conversation this week. So I'm excited to know what it is. He's like not telling me. He doesn't. He's all like, I want to wait for you to come. Get settled, get all that, and then we're gonna talk. So I'm really good. I'm really excited. But shout out to my team. Shout out to my agent. Shout out to Podcast Movements for giving me this experience. Of course, I earned it. So, of course, I'm going to, give myself a pound on the back because to pull that off, I mean, woo, did the mission impossible to get to where I need to go to the, woo, you all seen it. I know some of y'all was like, what? Wasn't you just in? Yes, I was just in Austin. And listen, we pull Mission Impossibles over here. We make Mission Possible. I guess I'm Kim Possible, Unstoppable. Like, we make it work. We make it work. But it's discipline, it's time. It's you know, child star I was, growing up. This a lot of what I look at now with my scheduling, like I don't even complain. Because I remember when I was younger and I was doing speech and debate competitions, I was traveling, doing theater and doing plays and dairy cow judging for FFA. I was doing a lot of stuff like in my schedule while doing that and then taking classes. So I will never complain about my current situation because this is the work. Like I am working, like I am getting paid. I am like I'm living the dream and I'm just so grateful for it. So like I don't complain about much when it comes to opportunities and work. I just don't because it could be nothing at all. And I remember what it was like to not have a phone call ring. Mind you, years ago. But like I remember what it was like to send out pitches and don't get a response back. To have something and then it drops like at the last minute. You know, that's not happening right now. And I'm very fortunate, I'm very grateful, and I'm very blessed. And I just don't take it for granted. And this weekend was just an opportunity for me to just savor it. Like I didn't go with any friends. Mr. Johnson was working in Philly and doing his thing. And so I was really able to just kind of be with myself in a very cool way. Like I was out and I met people and networked, but I also had some time to just sit and savor the moment. Cause Sunday morning I did my speech, which was awesome and rocked out the house. Um, but this whole weekend was just the opportunity to just go out and just breathe. And so I've had some moments I just walked through I said Dallas, through Austin and just did some solo traveling kind of experience. And that's kind of different. But then also just had the opportunity to really meet different people from all over the country and just have conversations about what they're seeing in their politics and what their world is. And it was a very different trip. Like, yeah, it was very fun. I will say this year, I'm calling it the year of travel because so many of my gigs and opportunities has been connected to me traveling and I wanted this in a way that was safe, meaningful, like just it's been a lot of traveling for leisure, traveling for work. And yeah, it's just, I'm really grateful. I'm just really happy. Really, really happy. And really excited about what's to come because I've really, truly, I'm going to have to talk my shit. I've worked my ass off for this. I really have. I've taken a lot of, I've done a lot and I'm just, yeah, I'm grateful. So yeah, so Austin, so Austin is a city. Okay, so what do I do? Do I talk about Austin? Yeah, I'll start with Austin and then I'll get into South by Southwest and my thoughts. So Austin itself. Austin's fun. Austin's cool. Austin's the type of city that you can kind of fall into some things. And I don't know if that's because I went to South by Southwest, so I'm a little there might be some bias there because I feel like that is, but what I will say about Austin, I'll give them these props real quick. This is a city that knows how to open itself and let a festival or event take over. Like Austin was taken over by Southwest. Like it was taken over, baby. Like no matter where you went, every restaurant, every bar was packed. Everybody was showing love. It was just, it was, they are a city that knows how to host a big event Philadelphia, I'm gonna need y'all to take some notes. Every restaurant, bar, place, it was like you was in South by South. You had a badge, you had something, you had a drink special. The love was crazy. I don't even know who, even the people in Austin that were there. But there was also that Southern charm, because y'all know I grew up in Texas. Like, people friendly, people nosy, but nosy in a friendly way. They're like, oh, are you here for the thing? Well, welcome. Like, it's a level of hospitality. That Southern hospitality. I was like, oh my goodness, I missed this. Like, all the conventions I normally go to is on the East Coast of Chicago somewhere. But it was just really felt good to be like, okay, I'm back home. I'm seeing people, whatever. And I bumped into, wow, see, I'm trying to stay on track. So, it was the hospitality, and just the fact that they know how to really welcome a city. Like, it was like they took over the whole Austin. Austin is beautiful, very clean, very, very clean, very spacious. They have a real downtown, like a downtown that really was just, there was so many different parts of the city that were just done well, and a very beautiful, lot of green space, just very beautiful, and very walkable. Very, there was some nice walkableness. It was very hot this weekend. It got up to 90 degrees, so much that I really had to put the sunscreen on. And I do believe in putting on sunscreen for the face and all the things. But there's times like I don't. Sometimes what the kids say, raw dog. Not really. I can't say that word because it doesn't mean the same things to my generation. But the Gen Zers are out here saying raw dog, and I heard my brother say, I was like, "What do you? Excuse me?" And he's like, "Oh, like not going, not be on your phone when you go on an airplane, or when you choose to just do something without." I said, okay, that's not what that. Because he said, I heard him on the phone one time. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was raw dogging on the plane," and I was like, "You was what?" I just, I had, I was taken out, so I was confused, and so we got the phone. I said, "What do you mean by raw dogging? Like, what did you mean by that?" Like, I just had to ask. He's like, "Oh, you don't know what raw dogging is?" I'm like, um, tell me. You tell me. And he's like, "Oh, well, when you like just don't listen to any music, you want to be focused and you don't, you're unplugged." I'm like, "Unplugged how?" He's like, "Oh, like, not listen to music." Okay, got it. So then I started doing my research, and I started noticing that people are like really using this word out here. I'm not fully ready for this yet. Just like when I hear straight people say partner, I do understand. Let me be very clear. I understand what these terms mean, but mentally, um, I'm not prepared to hear it without smirking. I'm a little immature, I suppose. So I've heard a couple of people use the term raw dog, and I still laugh because I'm just kind of like, why are we saying this? Just say you're unplugged on the plane. Just say you're unplugged. Why we gotta say a raw dogging? I just, who thought this? The humor, okay? And then, partner, like sometimes I have to do a double take sometimes. When I meet somebody for the first time and they say partner and it's not a business sense, I have to remind myself this is, I guess, a gender neutral term. However, I have made a point to correct folks when they do it with me. Um, no, 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 no. It is my husband. Don't say partner. And I've had some people, sometimes I see some straights the straights, they will sometimes say partner for me, but then wife for them. No, 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 no. If that's your wife and I use he, him pronouns and Mr. Johnson uses he, him pronouns, that is a husband. We're married. You don't got to get all progressive all of a sudden now. Watch it. And it is the thing. There are some people that like to use the word partner. They like to use those words. No, no. Even for myself, like, I don't mind if someone says chairman. People say chairperson. If people want to use gender neutral language for them, I respect that. But I don't mind it. And also, like, like I embrace my gender. And people who are gender non-binary or whatever, everybody can enjoy however. Like, I respect people's pronouns. I don't, if someone wants to say chairperson or they, then, oh, I have no issues with that. But for me, I think, not that it matters initially, but sometimes I do feel like there are people who don't like to, they like to only do that in spaces around queer people. And so it happened to me at an event recently where they were like, I was at an event and someone was like, oh, so-and-so and their wife and so-and-so and their husband and so-and-so. And then they go and Ernest and his partner. Nah, Ernest and his husband. You can say it. It's all right. Don't assume. Yes, Ernest and his husband. And so I said my husband and said, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So, this is not my partner. This is my husband. And some people will use that word partner. I think and what's funny is I remember Timothy Chalamet. We'll talk more about that later. But Timothy Chalamet said partner on the Golden Globes. And I have a theory. It can be controversial, but I feel like some of the straights are using partner not in regards to actual marital spouses, but in vague terms to describe situationships. I was like, why, clearly Timothy Chalamet don't respect the arts of ballet or other things. So it's not like he's this deep thinker where he's got this level of respect or consideration for various communities and folks. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not like this is super progressive in that type of way. So I started thinking to myself, I started asking some of my homegirls, like, why do you think he said partner? And they said, oh, that's a way for him to avoid saying girlfriend. So that's what the dudes are doing now. They say, oh, you my partner. I was like, oh, so they'd be like, oh, we cool. You my friend. You my best friend. It's all these, and I'm like, some of this is sentimental and some of this is deceptive. But I just want everybody to know over here, boyfriend is permissible, for folks, ask them, let queer people be queer. For me, it's husband, but I've never throughout my entire relationship with Mr. Johnson has ever been like partner. I've never used that word. It's been boyfriend, it's been fiance, it's been husband. It's never been anything outside of that. So, this is me. But, yeah, I guess we were talking about raw dogging. Again, terms that I'm just like, I'm just gonna be like, huh? So yeah, it's very interesting to see that go down. But I digress. I digress. Um, yeah, I just went out in the city and just have fun. Austin is a city that definitely is cool. Now, food wise, I had to get me some eats. I went to a place called Cooper's, that was really good. I know there's Black Terry's and all the other barbecue spots. Y'all, them places were out far, long lines. The hours are all over the place. So I had to go to a good spot that was nearby. Like I wanted to go somewhere where I could eat. So I went to Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue. They're the home of the Big Chop. You can check them out at www.coopersbbq.com. Well, I went. And it stayed open till 10 o'clock. I appreciate how, they keep their nightlife flowing in Austin. The food was really good. That barbecue was sensational, as the kids would say. It was magnificent. I had beef brisket and pork ribs. Yes, I did. I had me some pork ribs. I had that swine. I had some, what did I also say? I had some potato salad, which was really good. They had a really good potato salad. And peach cobbler, homemade. And what I loved was they had a baked beans and pinto bean station that was free. You get your fixins and all your toppings, and it was free if you got a meal. And I had a good time. I was like, wow. Very efficient. I had all the cuts and all the slabs. Oh, so good. I ate really well. I really ate really well in Austin. That barbecue was hidden. And also they had a lot of tacos. And I missed the tacos. They had Taco Cabana, which I stopped by and slid into Taco Cabana. But I also went and had some really good tacos. Austin got a nice little taco scene. Like everybody had tacos. Like it was like a bunch of taco spots. And it was not the kind of tacos, okay, that Philly tried to do. And I'm not trying to compare cities. I have thoughts. I'll give you my thoughts in a minute. But I just want to say that the tacos, you ain't beating the Tex-Mex in Texas, baby. That Tex-Mex and tacos, they did it right. I love a good taco where they make the tacos like with the real small tortillas, real fresh, but they put cilantro automatically on the tacos. I can't find that many spots that put cilantro on the tacos. Unless I'm in like South Philly, and you know what I'm talking about. South Philly barbacoa, they'll do the chopped onions and stuff, but that's authentic. But these other spots, cilantro is missing, or fresh cilantro. Like there's just things missing on them tacos in Philly. I'm just certain stuff that I'm used to getting. Like all this, you gotta pay for guac, you gotta pay for this, you gotta pay for that. I just love that when I ordered some tacos, they were like, "You want a side of this? You want a side of that?" They just had it. I was just like, "Oh, I'm back home. Oh, I'm back in the South Bay," because it irks me how everything in Philadelphia is like you gotta add, you gotta add, you gotta add, you gotta pay extra for this, pay extra for that. And I get it, the whole import export, avocados on one side of the country, da, da, da. I hear all that, but part of me is like, can you just like, I don't know, create a flat rate for this shit, like up it and put some things in it and just keep it there. Kind of like how I feel about the mayor's budget, which I talked about already, but I was just talking to a friend about this and just saying, like, if you're going to add a 25 cent, you could have just added more. The surge is going to adjust the inflation, but get what you want, whatever you need. I'll get to that later in the show. But yeah, I felt good about it. I really missed those tacos. Tacos are really good. Uh, Before I get in South by Southwest itself, because I got some thoughts. Not about I'll get there. So another thing that stood out to me is that Austin kind of reminds me of Philly with less black people when it comes to its social strata. Austin is a very segregated city. There is diversity. Oh, there is diversity, but it's segregated. When I was going through different parts of the city and going to different parties and events, even outside the South by Southwest angle, I just noticed that the black folks had their own area, their own vibe. The white folks were in their own world. The Latino folks, they kind of had their own thing, but they had their own little scene, but they also mixed with black folks. We all, that's just how Texas is. You'll see a lot of like mixed race folks that's like, they'll have a last name Gutierrez, but the first name is Desiree. It's a lot of that going on in Houston. I mean, we got a strong Latino population in Texas, and so I grew up. I remember that. So it kind of just that home feeling of just seeing a lot of that, like Latino love and just slang and just the jargon. It's just like, okay. It's not like Houston, clearly, but you can tell there's a lot of folks that have moved to Austin for work from Houston. So there was a lot of like connection there. So that was kind of cool. But again, it is segregated. And that kind of reminded me of Philly. Like there's parts of Austin that people would consider to be the fish town, Northern Liberties. And there's parts of Austin that is a little bit more, different. Shout out to Tito's. Y'all know I love Tito's handmade vodka, the only vodka I promote and drink. Shout out to Tito's. They be sponsoring, our events that we do for PABJ. I love me some Tito's. But they had the Tito's. Tito's is made in Austin, Texas. And they had like a headquarters, and I didn't get a chance to go all the way inside, but I went past it with the Love Tito's, and I was like, wow. So that was kind of cool. Like everything in every type of drink. What I loved about the whole Tito situation is the way they drink Tito's in Austin is the way that we do Blue Coat in Philly for those who love Blue Coat. But they go harder for Tito's. Like they go extra ham for Tito's because like a national brand. Blue Coat is too. But I'm trying to figure out what I would compare it to. Yingling. Even though I don't drink Yingling. I don't support Yingling. But the way that people drink Yingling in Philly or did at one point in time, that's the way they do Tito's in Austin. It's got that, like, it was everywhere. Like, Tito's is everywhere. Like, any drink you drink, any cocktail you get, it's going to be like baseline Tito's and then everything else. And yeah. And also, I gotta name this. Shout out to the prices in Austin. Shout out to the price of food. Things were reasonably priced. I mean, compared to East Coast standards. But folks don't play with their money down there in Texas. Like I really appreciated the prices of things. Like things cost the way it should cost. Like in my mind, how much I would pay for something is how much it deserved to be, the cost. And yet I love that. I love that. Like, okay, for example, two authentic Tex-Mex Mexican tacos that I got at a spot with guac and everything together. Guess how much that cost, those two tacos? And they were like nice, meaty tacos. And I got steak and I got shrimp. Okay? $6. $6. $6. Got me some tacos at a spot. Good tacos. I said steak. I said shrimp. Okay? $6. Fresh. Them Texas prices. I know if I was in Philly, easily would have been double the cost and not a blink. And here's the thing, those tacos were so good. I would have paid. I was ready. Listen, I almost was gonna spin the block and get another sip. I said, "Let me relax, Ernest, relax." But I was going to. I was almost gonna do four. I was gonna fuck up four tacos like right at Saturday. But you know, I just had two, and I had a cocktail and margarita and whatever. But it was dope. It was the food was so good, so good. Some really good authentic food. So really, yeah, it was just, yeah, I just, drinks were popping. I didn't have not one bad drink. Everything was just so, oh yeah, it was just, I really enjoyed the food. Yeah, I would go back to Austin for the food alone. The food. I'm realizing how much I didn't have anything bad. There was nothing bad I had. Even in one of the South by Southwest stations, there was a Philly hub, which we're going to talk about that they had cheesesteaks. There was a group of guys from Philly, but they came down to Austin. They had some businesses. They still live here, I believe. And they made, I think it was called Chili's Phillies or something like that. They made these brisket cheesesteaks. And they had Wiz initially, but then they used American, which was fine. But that a brisket cheesesteak might be my favorite. Well, hold on. I like a good oxtail cheesesteak. Maybe the oxtail cheesesteak that I had is probably my favorite remix of a cheesesteak. But you know what? I don't know. I'm a little biased because I feel like no one can there's not that many oxtail cheesesteaks around, so that's like a specialty. But I think I will say this. My overall remix of a cheesesteak in a very traditional way, but a little twist, is brisket cheesesteaks. I think that is the way I like eating them. I like the way the meat is chopped. I like the texture of the meat. I like brisket cheesesteaks. I think that is it's not that different from, well, brisket is a different kind of meat. So let me slow down on that. But I don't know. I like the styling of a brisket cheesesteak. And it doesn't have to have the barbecue flavor. Like they don't have to have barbecue sauce. So I've had it with that and it's still good. But I like a brisket cheesesteak. I think that is my favorite remix. I'm a classic girl. I don't need too much I don't even need too much. I just want fried onions, the cheese. If you want to throw a little bit of some peppers in there, I don't need any long hots. But if you want to chop up some peppers with the onions, with the cheese, my favorite cheese is, Cooper Sharp or Provolone. I'm a Provolone girl, but I don't mind Cooper Sharp. I don't mind Cooper Sharp. That's the gentrified version. Seeded roll or not, I don't really. I don't mind. I'm not against a seeded roll, but it's not like I'm running to one. I prefer a traditional roll with, a really good chopped sirloin, done well, right? Seasoned, of course, with the fried onions, with some peppers added in the mix. Give me some, provolone, because everybody don't got Cooper Sharp. And I want to and bonus points if you can give me a cherry pepper, because I love the way the acidity of the cherry pepper, a good red one, the acidity with that mix, woo, really good. And I know the gentrifiers, out there like to have the cherry pepper relish. Not against that cherry pepper relish, because sometimes eating it, you can't really always find a really good red cherry pepper to go with it. So if you can get a relish with that on the side with it, okay, I'll take it. I'm not against it. I don't have anything against. Listen, I know they call it the new gentrified cheesesteak. The new gentrified Philly cheesesteak is oh my goodness. How would I describe it? A seeded hoagie roll. Okay, not from Omaroso, some seeded hoagie roll. The steak, right? May or may not have fried onions, Cooper Sharp cheese. For some people, it's going to be a cherry pepper relish. Not just a cherry pepper, but a relish to go. It's different. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, it's not how I grew up eating the cheesesteaks over the years. I've been in Philadelphia for 16 years now, so this is my city. Okay? And I'm not trying to be some Christopher Columbus, but it's the only city I pay taxes to and still pay taxes to. I've lived here close to half my life, so I got some stake in this business. I got some stake in this cheesesteak talk. I feel like the hype around this this cheesesteak, of course, and the reason why people are talking about it is because there's been some debate about, you know, why what cheesesteak are people talking about? And I want to be clear. I think the place that people are talking about, at large, is, I guess, ever since a certain spot, and y'all know what it is, came with their cheesesteak and really hyped them up. Everybody has really began to talk about it. Like everybody's begun to talk about other areas that people like. And I think it has changed the way cheesesteaks. And I think I talked about this a while ago on my podcast, like what I think has changed the overall culture of Philadelphia cheesesteaks and what people like and what people are trying to copy now. I've noticed the trend of the seated roll. Um, I got my own thoughts about it. Angelo's is what I think. I think everyone is trying to make, a lot of people are trying to make their cheesesteaks like Angelo's cheesesteaks now. And I think I get it, but I think there is also the other cheesesteak. And y'all know what I'm talking about. The other cheesesteak that does not have the seated roll, it do its thing. But I digress. So South by Southwest overall, it's a cool festival. It is definitely one where you have to really study the lay of the land before entering because you can get overwhelmed, you can get swallowed. And I think this year, because of the way that they didn't put everything in one major complex, they kind of spread it because there's reconstruction at the location that they normally have it at. So it wasn't like in a convention center area. So it was like kind of spread out to all these different like blocks. And so I think that's also why all the local businesses were there. Like everybody had like houses and exhibits, and they rented out these venues all throughout Austin, and people were going to the houses. So that was kind of cool. And I don't know what South by Southwest was like before then, but this new concept or the concept they had to adjust to, I thought it was really fun and interesting. But you really have to get the lay of the land early. You have to really study it because it can be very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. The other thing I found interesting about this experience is that this is truly a festival that is really rooted in fun and learning and exploration. Like, this is not a convention. And I think that's important to know. Like, this is a festival that is intended for people to have fun. It's also intended for people to learn some things and get expo. And so I wrapped my head around who was this for. Um, hmm. Because that was a really good question. I mean, it was definitely for me. I definitely soaked up a lot, made connections. It's not like a convention where you're looking for a job. Like there's no job fair like angle to this. But then again, those are the type of events where you walk out. If you really network and play it right, you can walk out with some bags and some real connections if you do it right. And so when I was there, it was just a lot of media folk. It was a lot of media, lots of media. Paramount, of course, who's been taking over everything. All these other music companies and groups did different things. Different cities did different things. There were multiple quote unquote houses. That's how they put it, like house. Like it was almost like the house of but it was like different houses. So the Paramount houses, like basically what this meant was like these houses were basically like centers where people would like take over a space and promote their brand in this very cool, innovative way. There'll be activities and things related to the company or the group or the organization. And everybody had their own like station. So it was almost like you was visiting like various like it was almost like a neighborhood tour. Like he was going to different little houses and checking out what everybody had. That was so creative. It's hot as hell in Austin this time around. So it was like 9 degrees. So, I was out there walking, but I stayed hydrated. And I want to mention that. One thing I will say, I don't know if it's a southern thing or whatever, but I appreciated how overflowing water was. Not just at South by Southwest, but just in Austin. Like Philly, you go into a Philly spot and you have to ask for water. Like you just have to, they just don't keep it around. But I appreciate that every place I went, there was just gallons of water available, like no question. And there were cups provided. Like there was just a water station at every part. And I just really appreciated that. Like just being able to walk somewhere, I was at a place and I thought I had to buy a bottle of water. They were like, oh, just help yourself. And they had a whole jug and everything. I just got me some water and sat my ass down. Like I really appreciate that. That was just, yeah. Even the hotel I stayed at was like dope because I stayed at a really nice hotel. Actually, I was in a Domain, which that's not the name of the hotel, but the area I was in. I was in a Domain, which there's a really nice mall called the Domain that is a huge shopping plaza. I didn't really go in there and spend money. I was trying to, be engaged with what I was supposed to be. But baby, they had, everybody, every major brand was in there. They had Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all the stores. And it was not an outlet. It was like a regular, big, huge, like plaza, real fancy. I was in a really fancy area. I didn't even know anything about where I was at, but I was like, ooh, when I rolled through, I was like, ooh, okay. I stayed at a really nice hotel. It was almost like it's called the Lone Star. Um, it's called I'm trying to remember what it was called. It was called the Lone Star Court. That's what it's called. Lone Star Court. And it has like this very like rustic, fun motel vibe. But it's not a motel, but it has like this very like old Texas motel aesthetic in the outside, but very comfortable, very modern, like this really cute retro art deco look. Like the fridge looks like it's from the 1950s, but inside it's modernized. But the whole look of the place makes you feel like you're in this retro, like Texas motel, but everything's modernized, like flat screen TVs and, state of the art stuff. It was just a beautiful hotel. And yeah, I stayed there the whole time. And I will say the trek from where I was to downtown Austin, in some ways I appreciated being away because like where I was at, it was real quiet at night, really nice. It was like a nice area. Maggiano's right across the street. I went to the bar, then got a little sip. But it was a very chill area, like away from all of the noise. And so when I would get home each night, I just loved that I was able to see like a clear sky. It was very quiet. I could just walk and just soak it all in. But then in the daytime, the Uber on the other end, woo, it was a trek. So that part of it was like being able to have that separation from all the noise. Cause if I was in a hotel in downtown Austin where everything was at, I don't know if I would have really slept because would have felt even more. But like I really was disciplined. Like I was like, I can't stay out super, super late. I want to get up, get attentive. Like I got some good ass rest. One night, I think the Saturday morning, I got like I got 8 hours sleep. I was like, oh. So it was like a little bit of relaxation in between the travel. I was like, okay, I really like I love this for me. So that was cool. Um, but yeah, the hotel was really nice. The food was really good. But yeah, it was just a lot of these different stations that I really appreciate. I really appreciate the stations that were there. Couple of spots. Podcast Movements had a lot of programs throughout the whole weekend. But I spent part of my Saturday at the Keystone House, which is hosted by Amplify Philly, 1PA, I believe, and some other groups put some money into it. But it's like basically used to be the Philly House. It was very Philly focused. And then the state put some good money in, and now it's the Keystone House. And it's like they do it for one day on a Saturday, and it's a whole day of activities, parties, mixers, day drinking, all the things. So I had a thing. So here's the story. I can tell y'all some tea. Give y'all a little bit of tea. So oh, buddy. Well, let's go there. So last week, remember I told you all that, Philly folks were acting funny. People hit me up, told me that, hey, I had put it out there in the universe and said, don't act funny. If I come down to Southwest, don't act funny, Philly, some of these people. And, you know. So last week I was sent a link by someone I know that was like, hey, Philly's going to have this thing, just register. All you got to do is register and you'll be able to get in. I was like, cool, I'll register or whatever. I registered. I remember reading the form, and the form had said that if you don't get confirmed, like filling out the application does not confirm you access to the house or whatever. You have to register or something like that. Like that's how it was framed. So I was like, okay. So up until the event itself, I never got confirmation around my registration. Even though this is a free event, but you had to register in order to be, to get the access or whatever. So I was like, but something said, you know what, I'm just gonna pull up anyway. Let me just, see who's in here or whatever, work my set. So when I got up to the front, there was a lovely woman who recognized me just naturally, just was like, oh, hey, so I'm like, hey, I'm not registered. I don't know if my registration was off or whatever. Is there a way you can look in the system or whatever? Like I wanted, see if there was confusion. If not, I would have just went to another spot. She was like, oh, don't worry about it. I knew who you were the moment you came in here, and just gave me, an all access bracelet and rocked it out. And I don't even think she knew what was going on, what the tea was. She just was just like, I just show love. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate that. Sometimes when you just doing your thing, you representing doing your thing, keeping it cute and on mute. You just do what you do. So I got my bracelet. So when I walked in, there were certain organizers and people that I guess was a part of the event. And they was looking like, who the hell let this motherfucker? You could just tell the energy. Like it was not friendly. It was that energy, like, because when you see people that you want to see or people you like, you'll naturally go and, give hugs. But it was this energy from Philly folks like, who let this bitch in? And I was like, it was just, the energy was just very much, and let me be very clear, it was not everybody, because, I would have just left. I'm not about to play these games. But it was some stankness from a certain little group of folks when I first, because I came early. I came around 12, and things were beginning to warm up by 12. So it was a little weird. And I was like, okay. And then that told me everything I need to know about what was going on with my registration. I don't know why people play with me like this. Listen, don't play with his. Listen, I tell people, why do people play? Why do people play? Why can't we just, by deflect? So when I came in on stage, it was Raheem Manning, Tiffany Stannard, and Rue Landau from City Council. They were doing a talk up. So I would listen to their talk. It was a decent panel. It was very good. And then me and Rue was there. She was the only city councilman. She was the only politician, I feel like, from Philly I saw that was there. Very nice. Rue's cool. We go way back. When she was at the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations, and I was asking her for a comment every other week when I was covering neighborhood racism. She, good old days. But no, it was cool to see Rue. And I will say this. I've noticed a trend. Every time I've seen Philly politicians like out of Philadelphia, they're so much more refreshing. She's cool, but I just thought she was cooler. I don't know how to describe it. But it's just interesting. Like when you see them out of, I guess they can let their hair down a little bit. So like when I've caught folks at DC, or I've caught somebody in NYC, or bumped into them somewhere, I've noticed that they are like so more relaxed and nice. And I'm just like, okay, so this is how you are when you're on the big donors. Got it. But no, very, very, very nice. But yeah, it was just that energy. So, Alex Holly came. I saw Alex Holly. She was there. She stopped by. She's there for like the weekend or whatever, but she stopped by. So we caught up, and I saw her. A couple other folks from Philly I saw. So let me put this in background. I'm not gonna get into names per se. All I will say is that the group with Amplify Philly, some people in collaborations with Rec Philly. So I was like, oh, Rec Philly's a part of this. Got it. I won't say anything further. I'll leave it at that. Got it. Okay. I get it. Okay. But you know what? Nobody told me to leave. Nobody told me to leave. No one invited, I guess, but no one told me to leave. So I had a good time. It was a lot more people coming from Philly. Lots of love. Lots of drinks. I was day drinking. I ain't gonna hold you. I had a good time. It was They had the real. I mean, like nothing like a good open bar where they have like the cocktails. Like they had pina coladas. They had like a Moscow Mule with ginger beer. It was, I mean, well, clearly Moscow is ginger beer, but it was like a, no. Take that back. It was a Moscow Paloma. That's what it was. They used ginger beer in the Paloma, but it had like a Moscow Mule taste, but it also had tequila. It was very, yeah, it was lit. Great party, great performances. Saw some people from the Philadelphia Recording Academy there. Shout out to them and the great panel they did. It was a vibe. It was a vibe. Once people warmed up. One thing though that I'm working on is not letting people. I'm not gonna say the word play in my face. I don't think people don't play in my face as much as they used to. But one thing that I do now slightly is that people make them like subtle backhanded remarks. And so I just match the energy and see how it goes, right? So somebody when I was there just was like, "What are you doing here?" And you know what I did? I did the same thing to them. "What are you doing here?" I just did it right back to them. And I think they caught it. And good, catch it, please. And stop doing that. Because first of all, white people and non-white folks, because a lot of people do it. I don't think people realize how they sound when they say that to people that they don't have a kinship. Like it's one thing if you see one of your friends somewhere and you be like, "What your ass doing up in here?" Like, and it's something they shouldn't be at. Okay, listen. I was gonna give an example, but that's not appropriate. But sometimes you can have a situation where you could be like, it really warrants the question. Now, what your ass doing up in here? That's different. But when you don't really know a person and it's something of a high, I think it is. I think it's the context, right? Like when you see people in very like nice places, spaces like that, and you go, "What are you doing here?" or "What you doing here?" Like that. It's the notes a level of you don't belong here or how did you or whatever. And it's kind of weird. Because if you're there too, what does that say about you? Like I've never done it to like I never go to a person and be like, "What are you doing here?" Like, "What you doing here?" Like, because it's almost like a "how did you get in" kind of thing. And that context of me being that, I think that was the connotation. I won't name the name here. But that was the connotation. How did you get in? How did you get? And some people used to say that to me sometimes. People have gotten a little bit better with how they discreet their messiness, but would be like, how you get in here? Or who let you in here? And I don't think people realize how fucking ridiculous and listen, let me be quiet. But anywho, choices. Before we get into hot topics, because I guess I have said a lot of things. Overall, my South by Southwest experience was good. People are gonna people. Food was great. Can't wait for the pictures to go up. Some pictures. I took a bunch of different pictures. But I rocked it out. Saw some great people. Sean Astin, who is the president of SAG-AFTRA, who is also like was in Lord of the Rings, great actor. He won an Oscar for short films back in the day. Like this interesting man. He gave a keynote address that morning, Sunday morning, like before I said, talk about. So I loved it because I got to keep a crowd. I was nervous. Like, is anybody gonna be here to hear me speak? Listen, SAG-AFTRA president was up in the house, so I was like, I follow up right after him. Well, damn. I was like, ooh, this is a good lineup. Like we starting the morning off right. And then, I did my big one. But that was good. So I just podcast movements, mwah, love you all. You just don't even understand. Thank you. So moving along. Before I move to hot topics, I want to take a moment real quick. I'm going to be on a lot of shows this week. Some of the shows I'm going to promote out loud. Some of them I just am going to let you watch for yourselves. If you go to the link my link tree, my link in bio, and you go through my YouTube videos, I was on a show by this British guy named Dan Wooten, who I've been on his show before. But it was we did a 2-part episode together. Me and him did an interview a week ago about Meghan Markle. He is so obsessed with that woman. Why are the white male Brits, him and Piers Morgan? But I did an interview with him and another guest. It was spicy. They didn't really do any like linkage clips. I didn't really promote it heavily. I mean, I put it in my link tree so you can watch it. It's got 1,000 views. It's like, it got a nice little following. You don't got Piers Morgan numbers, which he felt some type of way about Piers because he said something to me. He argues that he put me in British media before Piers. I disputed it, but then I looked back and I said, oh yeah, I was on you. We was on GBT News. But it was nothing compared to what Piers has done. Like, Piers got, listen, you know, Piers got Rashida from, formerly from MSNBC. Like, he got, he's got some heavy hitters, with him now. Rashida Jones, the television producer, she used to be the former president of MSNBC. She's since has left, but now she is the CEO of Piers Morgan's media company. So, like, that is crazy. So he has a new media company called Uncensored. Is Piers Morgan's new media company. It's called Uncensored. And the company announced that it's reached a capital agreement with Rain Ventures and Antenna Group and other investors, including the Rubin brothers. The flagship channel is Piers Morgan Uncensored, and they are working on a multi-genre and talent-driven digital network. The company also launched History Uncensored with the former CNN anchor Bianca Nobillo. And they got a licensing deal with the UK's Channel 5 to syndicate Piers Morgan Uncensored over the air over the air television. So Piers is doing his big one, and listen, I'm in the mix, so just might see me this week on the show, whatever. But like, hey, I mean, Dan Wooten was in his feelings, but to be fair and accurate, I would say Dan Wooten, I was on Dan Wooten's show in the UK called The Clash. And then he got in some controversy. Now he's doing his own thing on his own platform. But yeah, I guess I was. But I guess he would argue that once he left The Clash, Piers was looking for talent. But I argue with that part because I kind of feel like Piers Morgan did not poach Dan Wooten's talent. I was actually simultaneously on Dan Wooten and Piers Morgan's show. I was first on Dan Wooten, and then Piers and I. But I think Piers got me because I talked about him in my book, The Case for Cancel Culture. Like, I mentioned him, and also the book had its own buzz and controversy. So I don't think it was like Dan Wooten thing, but he likes to say he brought me to the UK. I'll give him, sure. But, Piers Piers got the bigger, but, I was on Dan Wooten's show. I'm never going to turn down a good opportunity to be on media, especially if it's media where I get a chance to really talk. Like, I don't, like, if you all notice, I don't really do that many, like, TV appearances, segment things, because honestly, it's not useful. Like, I'm a YouTube, I guess I'm a little YouTube star, I guess. I'm making appearances I'm a YouTube on-air correspondent. I feel like YouTube has taken certain elements of TV, like these cable news shows. I still like local news, and I know local has its ups and downs all around, but we just need more long form programming, and we need it done in a way that's unbossed and unchorused. Let me shut up. But like, I just think we just need to have that, and I think we're missing a lot of that. And I'm gonna talk about that on later in this episode. But it's a lot going on out here. It's just a lot, and so you're gonna see me on a couple of interesting shows this week. Depending on how they market it, those individual shows market it, all I will say is just go to my link tree and go see my YouTube shows, and you will see in the carousel episodes of new episodes of different shows I'm on. So right now, while I'm talking to you, Dan Wooden is on, but there might be some other stuff that might pop up on my IG. Some I might promote, some I might not loudly promote because I don't know if they're going to have any quality clippings or graphics and things. And it's neither here nor there. But there's going to be some interesting shows that I'm going to be potentially on this week. So stay tuned for that. As you all know, I was not on the record with Ernest Owens this week on WRD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media, because I was in Austin and for South by Southwest, so I couldn't do this week's episode. But I am going to be back on next Sunday and the following Sundays after that. And I have a very interesting special guest that I am going to have on my show that I've confirmed is elected official that I've been trying to interview. And you all, you're going to be in for a treat. So that's going to be in April. But I locked them in for April. They're pretty busy nowadays. But they have confirmed that we are going to do an episode together in April. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, let's get to hot topics. So there's a lot going on, okay, with Mr. Trump. He's losing some ground. He is definitely losing some ground. And it's behind this war. And nobody can deny that. Joe Rogan and him are beefing right now. It's a real thing. Joe Rogan and him are definitely having a feud. Now, let me be very clear. I do not care much for Joe Rogan personally. I don't have my podcast on Spotify because of how disgusted I was with the fact that Spotify kept him after his very loud and racist, use of the N-word. First of all, use of the N-word on the show, the Planet of the Apes references, like all that shit he was doing. I could go down a list about why Joe Rogan's a problem. And what a disgrace, because I remember him when he had hair on his head and he like an incel. He was hosting Fear Factor. And Fear Factor used to be that show. Listen, for all the 90s kids, millennial, early 2000s, millennials, y'all remember coming after school and watching Fear Factor and remembering talking to your parents or your friends and being like, would you eat a roach for $500? If you ever want to know, okay, if you ever want to know why there is a lot of millennials, specifically 90s babies, because I know there's millennials and 80s, but I'm talking about my 90s babies. If you want to know where a lot of us get off on this whole conversation, when we talk about like what people do for money and we talk about eating bugs or roaches, or we talk a lot about that kind of talk, it is because we grew up watching Fear Factor. Like that was a thing. And even though it would gross you out, you just could not believe what people would do for money. But then you were like, damn, would I do it? And I ain't gonna hold you. Now that I'm a little grown, listen. Listen. Now that I pay my own bills and I'm out here, shit. I get it now. I get it. When I was younger, I would just be like, I would never do that. Shit. Now, this economy. But no, Joe Rogan, that's how I knew him. So to see him evolve into this type of guy, like I knew he did some UFC stuff, all that. I didn't follow him at that point. I only knew him with Fear Factor. That's all I knew about him. And then when I started hearing about him and Trump and this, I was like, the Fear Factor guy? I mean, that's how I knew him. So he says he feels, well, I guess him and Trump supporters feel betrayed by the Iran war. Okay. He's afraid that the leopard with stripes actually bit him. Got it. Okay. Say less. Say less. So, if things could have gotten worse, they do. Trump endorsed Jake Paul and predicted that he would run for an elected position. Even though Jake Paul, that's the boxer, influencer. Trump was somewhere with him they did like a little panel conversation interview, and he endorsed this man. This man hasn't even decided, has not even talked about having any interest in running for office, but he's already given an endorsement. Okay, Trump. All right. So there happens. So it's a lot. The New York Times did a really big, thorough report talking about how Trump and his advisors miscalculated Iran's response to war. Um, I don't know if they thought this was Iraq all over again, but yeah, it's not looking too good. It's not looking too good, y'all. And I'm just, yes, it's just not looking too good. Yeah, yeah, so um, yeah, it's it's just it's a lot. So now to the Democrats. There's so much to say. So much to say, and honestly, I've we're gonna have this. We're gonna talk about this. Yeah. I think I want. I definitely. We're gonna have this conversation. I'm not talking about Democrats all the way through when I get here with this, because this is something that it's long overdue, and y'all saw what was going on social media. Come to the room. We're gonna talk about it. A lot of stuff popped off this weekend while I was at South by Southwest. It was lots of going on the internet. A lot of stuff is like coming out of the woodwork in ways that is being defended. And I just feel like what I've learned, and even on my journey writing my book, Divided We Stand, that in this journey of one writing this book, doing my thing, everything that I have been talking about for the past several years is happening so loud, and this book can have not have come at a better time. But also, you just recognize, and I have to remind myself about the internet, and I tr- don't for the most part try to take stuff personal. Like, people say crazy shit. It is annoying. It is stupid. But what I will say about folks, just on the internet, is that the same level to which they expect you or want you to do your research about every little detail pertaining to whatever thing they got going on, also they don't return that same expectation. Now, to be clear, it's one thing to be a journalist and do your own investigative, but it's also funny to me how journalists, like, even that positioning, right? Like, when you're doing work where people will hold you to that title at all times, when it's convenient for them to try to discredit you when you have a take, an opinion, on all the things. Contrary to popular belief, I am not a journalist 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But interesting enough, we live in a society where people define, and this is American culture, and I'm not even going to, but people will define your entire identity based on your job. And I recognize that because I am high profile, everything to everybody is a damn story when it's not. People will use journalism talk on you in ways it's like, I didn't know I was on the clock right now. This isn't a story. I'm not reporting a story. I don't have a apparatus. Like, this isn't me reporting. Like, because when I report, you get the breaking. Like, you get the breaking. You're gonna get all of that. So it's interesting how people like to cherry pick and play. But also, I say all this to say that I have to remind myself that there are a lot of bad faith actors on the internet. And so, if you want to ask a question or share a legitimate concern or opinion, there are people that will respectfully challenge that and have discourse. But then there's also people that are choosing to be woefully ignorant for the sake of their obsession over the person. And I just want people to know, because there might be some people that was involved in that discourse over the weekend and will be listening. But I want to be very clear. One, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. But two, it's one of those things where if you're using talking points, you know, and you're consistently, the rhetoric goes a certain way, it's script, it becomes so predictable that it becomes weak. What I mean by this is that if every retort or response is met with the same def, deflection, at some point you have to take a step back and go, what's wrong with me? But I recognize that there is a level of obsession, delusion that's triggered by our political climate. I get the delusion. I don't agree with it, but I understand that we're in desperate times. And so when you're in desperate times, people, in times where there is a lot of political unrest, there's a lot of uncertainty, people are looking for something to idolize. People are looking for something to obsess over, either as a means to distract themselves from what's going on in the world, or to have a renewed sense of hope and faith. And so what we're recognizing right now in this political climate is that people are looking for a hero. People are looking for someone or a person to be perfect or to be their thing. And there's a desire to fulfill negligence or to fulfill inadequacy within oneself. So whenever there's a time where the economy, people want a savior. So we're looking at like Mom Donnie. Like, I'm not saying that Mom Donnie is a problem or anything. I'm just saying that politicians like him, or even like Jasmine Crockett, there was a legion of folks that was super obsessed with Jasmine Crockett. We see these moments where people get like that. I mean, you see it with Republicans, like you see it with Trump, you see it with people, right? Where people will get hyper obsessed because they put all their eggs in because they're so hopeless and helpless. And I get it. Like, I get that feeling that people might get. But there's one, touch grass. That's one. Two, like, unless the internet is like sustaining you in a fiscal way to help you pay your bills or do whatever, to be extremely online as a way, if that's your only way of organizing, engaging with people, talking to voters, doing stuff, if that's the only way you are, and I think the problem, I want to be very clear, I'm not talking about the influencer that I'm about to talk about in a minute, I'm sorry, the content creator, the political campaign consultant. I don't know what title to give her at this point. I think at one point content creator was appropriate, so I'll say content creator and political operative consultant. I think that's safe to say. Look, I'm not trying to disparage a Black woman in any way that is not. I mean, I can be critical of all people, and I think what's becoming annoying, and I'm not referring to her in this situation in general, but what I think is becoming annoying is that in moving in bad faith, people are no longer even opening themselves up to actual legitimate critique or concern, or a level to acknowledge, hey, I see why people are concerned about this. I see how people can read this a certain way. I see how there can be a level of clarity provided or context provided. I see all of those things, right? I think, to me, when people can't even recognize that, or maybe a situation where we as a community, and I'm talking about Black folks, but we see this in other communities as well, where in the name of protecting people, we lie for people. Like, we lie for people, we become obtuse, or we deflect as a defense mechanism. So therefore, we can't even address the legitimate concern because we don't want to, because this is who we like. And that's stand culture, right? When we get to a point where we assume that people are above reproach, we assume, how dare you? And then we'll use every dagger we can to silence or dismiss, even if it's from people in the said community. And so we've gotten into a pattern where there is no room for certain folks to say anything, to give any critique or feedback or disappointment, right? We can't say anything without there being a bad faith actor entering the space to either make ad hominem attacks, to completely move the goalpost, to deflect, or to do whataboutisms that are irrelevant or not actually addressing the issue in the room. And we see it happen all the time in politics and celebrity culture. Like, oh my goodness, heaven forbids I get online and say, you know what, Chris Brown, I'm not really, I'm not really feeling him right now because of the ways in which he acts around women and how over the years. And I'm not just talking about Rihanna, right? Folks will go, well, where was this smoke for R. Kelly? Or where's this smoke for the white man? And it's like, sir, first of all, do your research, because I have talked about all these individuals. I've been critical of all these people. I've talked about Epstein until I turned purple. I've talked about Harvey Weinstein. Like, anyone who knows what I'm saying, like, knows I'm consistent. So to hear people beg these questions to me, it's like, you could also Google, you could also research and know that that's a false argument. But here's the truth. They don't care. The truth is, people don't care because that was never the point. The point was never to have a fair argument or a debate or a discourse or anything. The goal is to distract. And as somebody who strives to be open-minded and consider these nuances of things, it gets very frustrating to see people just make the bad faith attacks online. But I recognize it's been this way. And if this was getting better, there wouldn't be a book to write about it, because I'm concerned about democracy. And I think this is socio-political chaos. So what's happened this weekend in so many different ways? It started, this whole conversation on influencers. It's like interesting because it was a whole series of things happening in one day on Saturday that really kind of put all this together. So for starters, Linfest Institute put out a report. They put out a report on that they released. They were sharing some social, and they were just talking about the state of the industry and the business and what they were going to do, what their goals were, how they were going to show up in this current moment, right? So they talked about AI and news gathering. They talked about the state of the industry, just a bunch of stuff. I think that is, the one thing that I would say. I feel like there's got to be people that recognize, that. So I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna pull this up because I want to speak specifically about the Linfest report, because that was what really started my whole take on all this, and really showed me a lot of things and put things in perspective. So let me pull this up. So yeah, they did their impact report from 2025, and they talked about artificial intelligence and technology. They talked about how they were collaborating with OpenAI and Microsoft, which I find personally concerning. They have an AI collaborative, and it's all about innovation. And they were saying that the Linfest AI collaborative is now the largest AI fellowship in American journalism. But I'm just kind of like, okay. So then they had news creators, and they said news creators, as they defined it, they said are typically independent journalists publishing directly to consumers on an array of media platforms such as TikTok, Substack, YouTube, or Instagram. The Linfest Institute has embraced this growing new media market and is investing time and money to help build its potential impact for local news. They talked about consulting and tools. They talked about collaboration and connection. But they said the concept was and remains that journalism must always be new and that independent local news should be positioned to thrive however technology and consumer habits evolve. But the concern I had was how they talked about news creators. And so I put this in perspective. And I went off. So I said, good afternoon to those who know that news creators aren't independent journalists, but content creators. Content creators who might be in the news world, but don't hold journalistic standards or ethics. For example, an independent journalist would never be paid by a political organization, think tank, campaign, and or dark money group to produce news content. A lot of these folks you see on here are doing that and aren't fully disclosing such. That's all. I said that early in the morning. There was some discourse, some comments. People had different opinions about it. And, I said, for those who were as confused as I was by a certain Linfest Institute report, I tagged them. I said, to be clear, I'm for everyone sharing news, but conflating such efforts as journalism is intellectually dishonest and misleading. When political campaigns are giving you VIP treatment to quote unquote cover them in ways that they don't do actual political journalists, there's a reason for that. There would be no need to feel defensive if people were honest about the ways they're engaging in the media ecosystem. If we can't hold our own industry accountable, we're hypocrites in thinking we can speak truth to power elsewhere. So I make it plain, and I think it's a fair case. There were hit dogs that were hollering. There were people that were trying to move and be defensive. And I think the problem is that, and I'll get to what else went down, but the problem for me with this is that what is wrong with what I'm saying? There is a deception, and we have to be honest about that deception. In our current media ecosystem, as we know it, there is a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and there's a lot of people that are on social media that are presenting themselves in ways as if they're journalists or credible news places, right? Now, here's the thing. They're not saying they're journalists, but the way that they deliver information would make people think that they're out here on the ground doing reporting. They're not. And the problem is that the way that these mediums are being manipulated, everybody is looking like they're doing the same thing, even though they're not doing the same thing. And I think that that's the problem, because the public media literacy is very low. And when you get into politics in particular, we know that there is an investment in manipulating the voting population to act in a certain way. Some people will call that manufactured consent. Noam Chomsky talked about this. Manufactured consent has been around for decades. But the problem we see here is that the algorithm and the political confirmation bias of the public, right, is that people will affirm things that support their personal biases. They won't see anything wrong with it. They'll turn a blind eye. They'll see other cheek. And with journalists like myself, it's about accountability. We're watchdogs. Like, even if I like a person or personally agree with a person's politics, if I see foul on flag with some of the ways things are being moved, that is kind of, I am naturally going to say, you know what? That's a little shaky. That's a little, I don't know about that. That just don't seem right. Even if the mindset, but we got to be clear why, because when the other side, whatever side that is, when the actual bad guys do that thing, you're creating and normalizing behavior that I feel is going to not help the larger masses. And we can't just simply say, well, what about when the white guys do it? Well, they're wrong too. And people like me call those white guys out, the ones I know about. I think the other issue that I also find is that in our community, Black people that are from these communities, right? Because I grew up in Texas. People sometimes like to skip over that. But when people critique, if Black people cannot critique our own people on things that we find concerning that impacts our politics, who do you want to do it? It was Taylor Lawrence. They said, oh, Taylor Lawrence is attacking us because we're Black and Black women this and Black women that, and I'm attacking. And they framed Taylor Lawrence as being that, not arguing with some of the things that she said as problematic and questionable. That's all fine. Fine. Okay, her. You all had it with her. But now you're trying to do it to me. And I'm not about to have it. Because at some point, it can't be everybody. And let me say this, it cannot be everybody, but it also cannot be where you're going like, it was old paternalistic black men. Now it was straight black men. Now it's gay black men. Like, okay, so no one can critique anyone. No one. People are above reproach. No one can critique anybody. See, if I was dragging cousin Candace Owens, and I put that in parentheses, if I was dragging at Candace Owens, it would be no conversation because the politics align. There would be none because everybody is on the same playing field. But if I critique a black woman who is arguably on the right side of the things, parentheses on right, because here's the thing, you can be on the right side, but if you're not doing it, say, the right way, or you're doing it in a way that is questionable, it is something to be said. So you look at certain things happen in this media ecosystem. And if this was beauty influencing, food influencing, do what you want to do. Live your best life. But politics, government, legislation, this is nothing to play with. This is nothing to dabble in and talk. Like, it's just like we're having some weird conversations that do not apply in certain circumstances. Get your money. But the hustle, and in some cases, for some folks, not everybody, the grift of it is why we have these problems. And so I just want to put this in context. I've dealt this road. I've been on the war, been on the battleground with different types of folks. Darius Cooks. Oh, remember Darius Cooks? Oh, he a black man that want to cook food for people. Why y'all hating on him? He just blah, blah, blah. And there were critiques. There was lawsuits and folks saying they weren't getting paid their money. And then people got quiet. Black Lives Matter, the national group. There was concerns that was being raised by journalists and folks saying, hey, some of the ways these people are moving, I don't know if this is all legit. Shut up, Ernest. You're attacking these black women. Shut up. That ain't it. These are for our people. Then the lawsuits come. Then other shit come. Sean King was out here in the trenches talking about a man. Some people will call a white man. Said, hey, the way this guy is moving, this is not okay. This is weird. He's not being disclosure about political practices. It was a lot going on with him. Say, shut up, Ernest. Don't go after that black man. And then some people said they didn't care that he was, whether or not he was black, but he was standing for black lives. And I said, okay. And then that shit started to implode. What else? Who else? What's the trend? Over the years, we've seen Campaign Zero. Woo! D. Ray McKesson wrote that piece for the New York Magazine. Said, hey, there are some concerns going on Campaign Zero and the way that D. Ray is moving, and I think people should talk about it. They said, oh, shut up, Ernest. You're hating on this man. You hater. Been down this fucking road. And sometimes it takes 2 years, 5 years, sometimes 10 years. But we get to that point where the truth and concerns rise. At a certain point, when do we, what's crazy is that when sometimes these things blow up, right? Once it blows up, people then go, why nobody didn't say anything? Oh, no. Why people didn't say anything? No, people did speak, but they were silenced. They were retaliated against. They were threatened. And then no one can talk. No one can say anything because every argument gets used. And so, yes, identity do get weaponized in this, okay? I don't care. People weaponize people's identities. Some people are doing it in bad faith and some people are actually spot on. But is there any space for anyone in this black community to critique each other without people acting like every time a black man has a critique for somebody they're in community, a black woman they're in community with, why are we automatically saying that this person's attacking? Why are we automatically saying that it is because of gender or is because of bias? Because what do you do? What do you do with queer black men like myself that are actually people who often defend black women, rightfully so, defend queer people, defend trans people, but I'm not in any space to say, hey, this individual did this thing in a way that I think is not okay. Oh, no. Any work you've done, anything you've done, any actions, it goes out the window and you can get written off as something. I look, I wrote the book, The Case for Cancel Culture. I know how this shit works. But what I see in this case is that it has become such a playbook. And it's so disingenuous. It's so predictable. And sometimes one could arguably experiment to see what will happen. And you'll see the way that conversations evolve and track. And it's just fascinating. It's bizarre, but it's fucking fascinating. And so there was some stuff that came out about this other girl. I don't really follow her or know her. And I want to add this, that sometimes, let's take it for what it's worth, Black folks in community will talk about the things happening in community more than they will talk about what other folks are doing otherwise. Do I track every white political influencer? No. I know some of them. I've talked about some of them. We've talked about Charlie Kirk and the grifts with Charlie Kirk and Eric. Ben talked about it. Somebody asked me, well, when I get to what I get to, they're going to be like, was you ever this critical about Charlie Kirk? Excuse me? So you just, oh, well, sure. You don't, you just, I know what you think. You think I'm some man, people misread in the room. One person said some shit about me in a way that was like, oh, because you can't, men like you, losers like you can't get a bag of woman like back. So you think I'm straight? Oh, you think I'm a man? Hey, like what? There was people out here not even clocking my tea. I was like, wow, okay, well, I'm a straight Black man that hates Black women and jealous of them and have not achieved anything and mad because I'm a loser that don't have a girl. Well, you're right about me not having a girl because I have girlfriends, I have homegirls, but like the delusion, like it's just the easy robotic responses that people say. And it's almost like, but then they were demanding you to do your research and go into the rabbit hole and put pieces together. And I'm like, okay, I can hear all that. But then at the same time, no one's doing any of that on the other end. Or people are expecting you to be a journalist and do some deep reporting, even when you can just weigh in. At what point does the content creator become the regular person or the consultant or whatever? I mean, everybody got roles they're just juggling, and it's weird when those expectations are placed on them and not placed on them, but I digress. I guess there's a moral high bar standard that I guess only applies to thee, but not for we. I don't know. Got it. So I say all this to say that there was a backdrop of things going on. There was some influencer named Kat. There was people trying to say that this girl was a big chorus because she's been outspoken about dark money in politics, but she was on an interest call. She wasn't in meetings with them. She wasn't paid by them. She's never accepted any money, and that's what she claimed. But people were saying there was questions about this article that came out on MS Now that talked about a dark money group that was supporting the Illinois race, that was getting involved in the Illinois race. All this shit going on. Let me just start by saying, before I get into what happened, the main event, I suppose they say. We would be just so much better if we just actually invested in journalism, diverse journalism, supported Black media outlets, like like the ones that we trust and rely on, and like actually invested in the art of journalism and really supported diversity and reform. Like I feel like all this content creator stuff, all this other shit is so sticky, so messy, and in so many ways creates problems because the public don't really know what to do with these issues, right? And what these things mean. And everybody's either not sharing or disclosing or whatever. And like with journalism, there's an expectation. There's an SBJ code of ethics. I sit on the national board of SBJ. I am helping to revise the code of ethics as we speak. Like, stop playing with me. Like, I ain't that. Okay, I ain't that. Shit. Sometimes I type fast and misspell words in the damn thread, and apparently that just the spell check police that came from me. But like at the end of the day, the wrong one. And I think that it's so funny because people were critiquing my follower count threads. I only have like 5,000 followers. But I have more on Twitter, but I'm not really on Twitter like that anymore. And y'all know that because it's just, But I said to myself, and yet there's so many other people that had been speaking this weekend about this particular incident. And yet when I said something, which is fine. I get it, because everyone wanted to play like, you don't matter, shut up. But if I don't matter, then why was there so much conversation? Especially when I get into the post, I didn't name names. I can see, let me be clear, I own that I was referring and talking about this particular person, but it was one of them situations where a person could say, hey, somebody had made a rhetorical like question or statement, said some things, moved on. Didn't get into names, didn't get into all that, didn't do all that. But hey, it was caught, and then automatically the trolls came, the stands came, and then some other folks came. Now everybody was a stand or a troll, but people just automatic traction. But yet, while this is all being said, people are like, "Oh, you just saying things to hype up, sell your book," or other folks, "Oh, you don't even matter. You ain't got as many followers." Well, great. Ignore my ass. If I don't matter and my opinion doesn't matter, you know what you could do? You could ignore me. But let me tell you about several people who fucked around and just didn't do that. Justin Timberlake 10 years ago, I just tweeted something about apologizing to Janet. He decided to respond and he underestimated me, and we all saw how that went out. And, y'all already know how that went. Read the first book, right? Let's not do that. Let's not. To dismiss me or discredit me as being irrelevant or desperate to sell a book that does not come out. Like, the delusion. But I recognize that just as much as people say I don't know them, they don't clearly know me. And that's just the internet. Everybody's algorithm is different. Some people come across my stuff, some people don't. Everybody different. So I get it. But it gets to a point where you just have to laugh at how ridiculous people sound. And then you realize that it's an obsession in a parasocial relationship with their fave. So they're so into their fave, right, that they don't care what I do. They gotta defend at all costs. I get it. Been there. Listen, I've been attacked online and cyber trolled and harassed by the best of the delusionals. Okay, listen, y'all. Shine King, baby. His stands. Woo, my God. It was a different world. Wild, delusional. Okay, couple of folks. Like I done been there. Oh my goodness, the K Hive. The K Hive. And that wasn't, and the crazy thing about the K Hive, it wasn't even about Kamala. It was about Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania, that Pennsylvania race. Oh my God, the way they jumped on me, like my goodness. And I was on Twitter. They was just crazy. And then you start finding out that some of these things have bots, that there might be bots connected to these accounts. That there's like a trend of people hiring, like employing like actual bots. That they're not even real people. Or they're like manufactured, not actual people, but there's like bots that automatically respond. And that came out at one point in time. And at some point, and let me be clear, some of these people are real people, but like, it's just, there's been a lot of this shit going on for several years. And I think we're at a point where it's starting to really get there. And if we don't get this right, y'all, this shit is about to be crazy. So let's get to it. So in the discourse that was surrounding this influencer named Kat, this political content creator, influencer, whatever, and she was involved in this story, there was some critiques. And let me say this, there's certain stand groups or political hives, mind you, that are playing different parts. You got the Black political content creators, national, that are pretty much backing a certain subset of people. And what's interesting about that, I need to make this a note. They're not supporting every Black politician. They don't support the progressives. They actually heckle and say some very sexist, mean things about them, actually. Like, that plays into the misogynoir that they don't want other people to do with their candidates that they do like. Like, I can't tell you how many times people really said some dirty, like Black political influencers said some dirty, nasty things about Nina. And look, I don't agree with Nina's politics all the time and things that she say, but to sit up and, Nina Turner, like to sit up and talk about Nina Turner's hair or mock her looks. Like, it's just ugly. But like, I don't get into black women's hair, their looks, like, that's misogynoir. That's sexism. Like, I'm not going to talk about like to get into all that. That's just no, no. But and that's just no, that's just ill. Whether you like a person, don't like a person. One of the things that annoy me, like I, have critiques about Mayor Cheryl Parker, like I had for Mayor Kinney, like I have for Mayor Nutter. Like I just, politicians be fucking up, right? So one of the things that annoy me is that sometimes people will get online and they'll just talk about Cheryl Parker's hair, her makeup, or stuff. We're not doing that over here. I'm not doing that. I don't do that. Um, and it's other black people who don't like her, right? And don't do that. I know Jasmine Crockett. There's people that'll be like, "Oh, she's ghetto. She's just too ghetto." I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Like with Kamala Harris, questioning her ethnicity and how black she like. This, see, that's ad hominem. That's not a conversation about policies and actual actions being done by the person, right? Like, okay, while we're wasting time talking about Kamala Harris, silk press, and making remarks about racial ethnicity, I want to have a conversation about the way that she talks about the U.S. being a lethal, country, and the army. It's like lethal military, like yeah, lethal, like it's not necessarily the way I would describe it in a certain type of war hawkish way, but that's a critique, right, about government policy stances. Like we have to create space for that, and if there's gonna always be you ain't say that about a white man. Well, first of all, that's not true. But like, if that's the easy go get, catch them all, this reminds me about situations about Israel, right? There are some, here we go, right? If you critique the Israeli government, people automatically say you're anti-Semitic. We just got to stop this. Like, we have to stop this. Like, we have to stop this. Everybody calm the fuck down. Everybody. I don't care if I agree with your politics or don't agree with your politics. This shit is not okay. Everybody sounds the fuck delusional. Everybody's doing the fucking most. Everybody. Like, this is just ridiculous. And it's just the same regurgitated shit. Like, no one's talking. Everybody is saying the same shit. It's like, what are we doing? We've lost the plot. We've lost the plot. If we cannot have any type of disagreements or discourse on an issue without us resorting into weaponizing our identities. And I'm not talking about just black women. I'm not talking about just queer people. I'm talking about everybody. Like, I have seen Jewish people who support the military's involvement in Palestine, like the abuse, the deaths. Like, there are people that if someone says, look, I don't agree with Bibi Netanyahu, I think that's problematic. Oh, why are you attacking a Jewish leader? The U.S. do this. Why are you not? It's like, what are you saying? I think it's mighty. It's like, what? What? But this is a deflection. And everybody's doing it. Everybody, every community I've seen do it. Like, we're not even going to get into mega. Like, do I have to? They're just fucking nuts over there. But like reverse racism, what? But we have to talk about policies, actions, decisions, endorsements, like actual tangible things as worthy of critique and questioning. But we don't get there. I remember I talked about Jasmine Crockett, about why she lost. And granted, there's a lot of reasons. But to not acknowledge that there was some decisions she made in her campaign that did not help her, I just feel like, so yeah, that's not okay. So this situation, which is disappointing because I do like this individual. For the most part, I don't have a personal beef or anything with her. But this conversation just went in a way that was just very disappointing. It was just disappointing across the board. So when the cat stuff came out about this influencer named Cat or whatever, which I don't even follow her. I don't, I'm more centered on what black folks are doing and how it impacts our politics. So when people be like, well, you don't do what the white person do, it's like, well, I don't center my life on what white people do determines and define my standards I have of black folks, because I think that black people, we shouldn't base what we do off of white people's behavior. Like, if white people are doing shit that's questionable, problematic, I don't think the comparison should be, well, when a white person do it. It's like, I understand how that works in criminal justice, but everything ain't criminal justice, and everybody's not getting incarcerated in that way. Like, I just feel like certain people take certain optics and language in different ways, try to apply them, and it doesn't equal in the same setting. Especially when it comes to a journalist, a black journalist that specifically oftentimes cover black issues through a black framework. I just don't think that the argument should always be, what about when white people do it? Because what about them? And how does that play into what I'm critiquing? So does the person get a pass? Does the person just don't have to do anything? Like, I just think there's just a lot of like illogical like points being made that I think it's like, yeah, it's problematic. So right here, I get to here. And I made a post. This man. So over the weekend, there was a woman, Elizabeth Booker Houston. She has a law degree. She has a master's degree. Smart woman, accomplished, not taking anything from her. She's lived in Texas. She's from Memphis. She lives in DC now. Not taking anything from her. It came out in reports that she was paid $389,000 from the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, the CBC PAC. And that's a lot of money. That's over $1/3 million from one particular client, like one person. And it was connected to fundraising. I think they put as fundraising, digital fundraising or something around that way. Or that was how it was being described. But it was talked about in this way, but it was like she was a line item in their pack. Like, she was paid so much. That's a lot of money. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I'm not, that's not my argument. Like, get compensated, get paid, get money. Like, that's not my argument here. But yet, that's the deflection point. Let me be very clear. Make money, get your check, do your thing. I know political consultants. I know people who are in that field, in that space. Make your money. Not mad at black women getting paid what they are deserved. Okay, one of my homegirls, Alana, shout out to you, Alana. You know, get your bag, girl. I see you out there. I got friends. I cover politics. I know people who are political consultants. I mean, they're great. When you want to interview, get information, what's going on ground, explain to me fundraising. Like, I have a variety of sources in DC, New York, across the country. I know how politics works. I know how PACs work. I understand it. That's not my concern. I think what has been confusing for me is that she's been getting this money. She has these connections. And there has been times where she's like, I'm working with the CBC PAC. I think for me, the chorus incident that took place, and y'all remember I talked about that in depth when the chorus incident happened. She disclosed she was with Chorus. She's connected with Chorus. There was conversation about the dark money element. But there was this argument that, I'm saying what I want to say. They're not manipulating me, this, that, and the third. Okay. But now there's another PAC. And now there's other candidates and there's other things. And at a certain point, the mission of this work, right? Okay, you're a content creator. You did this independently. But then you got a relationship with an elected official, or you have some relationship. Then you get in the money from this organization that's working with content creators, but then you're also getting money from a PAC that's deliberately fixated on particular candidates. I just think, in my opinion, that conflation of all these different spheres of money and the work, how the work is different for different things. Like, we don't really know fully what she was paid to do from CBC. I mean, at least from my knowledge, I don't know all the details of what that $389,000 was for. It's a lot of money. And I can only imagine there was a lot of asks connected to it. What are all those things for? That's my question. Like, because you've put yourself out in a very public way where you've given the impression that the messaging is genuine, authentic. But what does genuine, authentic mean? Maybe it means something different to different people, Um, and I think, again, in this media ecosystem that we're in, there's a lot of conflation between what is real and what's not, what's being paid, what's earned, what's not earned. The word earned media was used for people to understand. Earned media is media that people do that. And I don't even, and that's another problem too. I don't necessarily know why people will, again, earned media is often used in a journalistic sense because it's supposed to say that, hey, this is not PR. This is not part of a PR team, or sponsored content or paid content or incentivized content. This is basically organic folks that just did it off the muscle. But if you're being recruited by a political campaign, I don't necessarily know if you can call that earned media because you're working on a campaign. Even if you're volunteering for the campaign, I don't necessarily know if you can call that. I think it's debatable to call it earned media because you're doing it in work with the campaign. It's one thing to just simply go out on the internet and just be like, look, I'm saying these things I want to say, and that's my opinion. Because I gave my opinion about Tallarico and Crockett and what issues Tallarico had. That's earned. I don't know. Like, it's just like, I said things I liked about both or whatever, right? I guess for me, that's earned, for them because they didn't call me. They didn't pay me. Nobody asked me to say anything. It was earned. And so I just think even the rhetoric around some of this has been a little questionable with that. Again, these definitions. So what I'm trying to understand is that with Chorus, the argument was we were paid, we were incentivized, but we weren't told what to say, what to do, this, and the third, whoop-de-whoop. But then you're getting this money from the PAC, and I'm like, was that money connected to being a content creator or not? And if it wasn't, then what was it for? But if you were working on, influencer work or whatever you want to call it, if it was something separate, okay. But then at the same time, there's been a public persona with the platform in ways with CBC that was not transparently made to everybody. So I guess it's public record. People found it and it got disclosed recently, but it's like, that's a lot of money. Why not put paid partnership or political ad with this content on these pages consistently? Because if it's paid, if it's this, it should be disclosed more. Put a caption in the post across everything. It's just because it's sponsored content. Like, this is content being paid for in this manner. See, when I do an article or I do a radio show or whatever that I'm doing as paid media in the journalistic sense, right? You know what it is because you see it's on the platform. But if it's independent, like the way that content creators are moving, and you don't put a label or a brand or you don't clarify it, like if you read an article by me or you hear me on the radio doing my radio show, like for Word, like this podcast is mine. It's independent. Like there's no money, no political campaign. Like this is just me doing it. I get money off of the ads that run, but nobody puts the ads come through Buzzsprout. Like I've been very transparent about that. Like it's no gotcha here. I do this show as a means, as an outlet for me to express myself, and And that's how I get my compensation. I get my compensation off the ads and the downloads and subscriptions. I don't charge money for subscription to the public, but the ads that run through Buzzsprout, that's the revenue that generates from that. But like, it's not, what I'm saying? Like no campaign pays me to give my thoughts or my takes or whatever. That's just not how it works over here. So that's important though, because when people listen to people's takes, especially that, they want to be able to say, I know that was unbought, unbothered. And if it is bought, hey, get your money. But don't pretend or give people the impression that it's not. And so I felt like when this came out that, hey, I mean, I knew there was some affiliation with CBC. I remember that she was going to the, State of the Union things, that maybe there was something. But after the chorus situation, I thought that was it. I didn't think there was other PACs giving money to her. And for what? Like, I didn't. And so I personally felt like, damn, another one? Like, this is serious money. Like, this is serious. Like, this is top tier. Like that's like $389,000. Like, that's a lot of money. And by all means, make your money. But this is a whole nother conversation. Like, you're not, I mean, I guess I felt like she was not who I thought she was in the political space. In the way that when she's making money. Like, listen, she says, I got a law degree, I got these degrees. Listen, I got an Ivy degree. I got a master's degree from USC in communication management. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I got a lot of credentials too. We all do in this space. People critiquing. But if I was getting that kind of money from one particular PAC, political PAC, I just feel like the way I would show up in these conversations would just be a little different. I just think that it's just, what are they telling you? Like, you don't get talking points? You don't get specific messaging? I just think that the conversational authenticity, but in what way, in what manner? Because there's got to be, I have friends who do this work. There's expectations on what you talk about, what you don't talk about. And if you're supposed to be doing a more holistic scale of conversation, we're supposed to be informing your followers. Are followers okay with it? I mean, I guess they are obsessed with the code of personality. Maybe they are. Are people following this? Some people are saying, I follow this page to get the real unbought, unbossed, unbothered take on this. Don't know if that take is as unbought and unbossed as it may have perceived prior to this information. Because that makes you go back and look at everything and go, well, what was what? Was this real? Was this not real? Was this paid? Well, listen, if it's all paid, get money. But then you also got to be transparent about what the agenda is. Because the argument about chorus was that, it was an opportunity just to, we weren't, but then the CBC PAC, what was that then? Like, it's just, a lot of this just I'm not questioning. Because I want to make sure I use my words right, because people will mix your words. I'm not questioning the intention. I'm questioning the impact. And impact trumps intention. I think that she is clearly invested in defeating Trump. Fine. But the impact of this and how it's being perceived and how it's being read, it undermines, I think, the overall impact of of how people was viewing her. As a journalist, I know how people view me and what they expect from me in certain ways. If any political operation was paying me to share any posts or do any type of thing in any way, and I was not sincere or as transparent about the nature of it. Because some people will say, look, a little $100, mind you, I don't get any of this money. I don't get paid from anybody to do shit. Like, let's be clear. But if there was a situation, right, where I didn't disclose something or whatever, or I decided to disclose, I would expect people to hold me to a certain type of account or standard. And I feel like that wasn't here. I just feel like that wasn't here. And so I posted this on Threads. What I said was specifically was, all I'm going to say is that if I was reporting on a primary election and was personally paid $389,000 from a PAC that was supporting one of the candidates and gave people the impression that my content related to said race was voluntary and free labor, I would be fired. Make your money, but please don't pretend it's not what it is. Campaign work. For those out there who was confused by the difference between journalism and content creators as influencers reporting the news, that is it. I mean, this is it. So she says, I didn't report on the primary election. I worked on Crockett's campaign. And I made a public announcement about working for her campaign, and that got at least 500,000 views, not to mention the follow-up post coordinating the digital outreach I was managing. I know this was clear because I got flooded with messages of, quote unquote, congrats on your new position. You're a terrible journalist for thinking I was acting as a, quote, reporter. You didn't at least see my election day post thanking Jasmine for hiring me. Jesus fucking Christ. JFC. First of all, anyway, I'm going to respond to what I said. I said back, for clarity, I was juxtaposing the work of a reporter like myself to whatever you would describe your work in this media space. In regards to the confusion, you claimed it was earned media. I'm confused as to how it was earned if you were compensated by a PAC that was incentivizing yourself to support candidates like her and others running. That's what was confusing here. So she posted on Threads a while back, and this is what I was confused for. She said, this is what she posted. I ran the creator program for Crockett. No creators got paid. It was all earned media. I didn't even start my job until February. It perplexes me that y'all spent years watching many creators post viral moments for Jasmine's for free, yet you cannot grasp that she is really that popular and loved that we didn't need to pay people to talk about her. Even today, post-primary, people cannot help but post her clips from today's questioning of Kristi Noem. Jasmine is that girl. Don't ever forget it. Okay. So then she clarifies and says, I wasn't the media named here. Now, that was what was confusing, because to me, I'm like, you've made content even while working on her campaign, or I guess you got it in February. We don't know what the difference in you know what I'm saying? The timeline's off, because you was doing content about Jasmine and about the election. I'm not saying cover it as a reporter. I never said she was a reporter. I was trying to say that as, anyway, I digress. Everybody knows what I meant here. But my whole thing was, when she said this, she says, I wasn't the media named here. The confusion is, you got in February. Got it now. But prior to that, you was already talking about it. So at what point was it earned and not earned? I guess because you get what I'm saying? Like, when did the money stop? Because I feel like there's been money flowing throughout, whether it was from CBC at one point in the past, I suppose, to then working on a campaign, and then, so was all that other time unpaid from somebody else? Was there a chorus? Like, it just seems weird. That's my take. But she clarifies at this point that I wasn't the media named here. I was a digital outreach manager. So I guess at this point, she's saying that when she got hired by Crockett, formerly was paid, then that's when she was saying earned media was from other creators who weren't paid. So she was paid, but she wasn't a content creator for Crockett at that point, even though she was still making posts about Crockett. But I guess it's weird to me. She said, I was the digital outreach manager. The creators who I reached out to were the earned media, is what she clarifies. My job was not to make content for Crockett. It was to find others who were willing to do interviews, post content, etc. So she was in charge of the girls. And I was paid by Jasmine, not by CBC PAC. How in the world would CBC PAC have known to pay me a year in advance for a job no one knew I would have for a senator race no one knew she would run? I could get real funky and get real messy. Not going to do that. Not going to go there. So what I said to her was, is that a rhetorical, or would you like me to answer how that could be possible? She said, no, please answer me. I am truly trying to figure out how a contract I signed in February 2025 is applicable to a campaign job I took in February 2026 that involved a separate payment arrangement and contract. And I said, and to be clear, not paid solely for Jasmine, but paid by the PAC to support candidates that include her, as you paid in the past prior to you being hired by her. So I was asking, basically, to be clear, that she was not paid solely for Jasmine, but paid by the PAC to support her candidates, to support candidates that included Jasmine, as she was paid in the past prior to her being hired by her. But what I don't know if she answered that, because that was what I was really getting to. But I said to her, just following up, I said, it is fair to argue that the CBC PAC connection and the work you did with them helped put you in a situation that provided the opportunity as it presented itself. For example, were the creators you recruited for free to help Jasmine paid by CBC PAC? Because if any or most of them were, that furthers the point. She says, no, that is not fair to argue, because Jasmine and I have known each other since 2023 and were close prior to this race. CBC PAC first partnered with me mid-2024. The opportunity came from being a friend of Jasmine's. My prior work with CBC PAC gave me the necessary experience to execute the job at a professional level. Jasmine would have hired me with or without me being contracted by CBC PAC, and none of the creators recruited were paid by anyone, including CBC PAC. Now, do you understand how that's a little confusing? So I followed up and said, so you're friends with the elected official who hooked you up with a lucrative political PAC contract after previous connections with them as well. That didn't hurt you later getting a paid job with her on the most recent campaign, where your influence convinced other content creators to do such work for free. Got it. Understood. I definitely misread the inner workings behind this in full detail. Apologies for simply assuming the situation wasn't as deep as it was. Oh, I apologized because I realized, oh shit, this is a lot of information that nobody had before in full context. So I misread this. Oh, actually, it goes much deeper than I thought. My bad. So then she says, nope, I got the CBC PAC partnership on my own. How, Sway? Didn't you just say, literally, that CBC PAC first partnered with me mid-2024? The opportunity came from being a friend of Jasmine's. She literally says it in her writing. She says the opportunity came from being a friend of Jasmine's. But then she comes back and says, she got the partnership on my own. The folks involved didn't even know I was connected to Jasmine at that time, which was as an acquaintance. But that's not what you said. Anyway, she says, and I didn't have to convince creators to volunteer. Jasmine is very popular, and people were eager to ask me how to sign up once I announced a new program. Then she adds, because she wants to kick now, she's in her bag and she got there, and I get it. She says the cool thing about being a well-liked and popular person is you don't have to scheme for people to want to work with you or be friends with you or start online drama to sell books. And she does a smiley face. Oh, touche. Oh, touche. Okay. So I said, got it. Her friend made the connection. I said, got it. So her friend made the connection with them, not knowing the acquaintanceship. I appreciate the context. My second book comes out next year, and for both of us, this conversation will be irrelevant in helping to sell any of it. I didn't say your name on here intentionally to not draw that much attention, but I get it. Be well. And I left it there. That's how we left that conversation. So much. So much. So much. So much that was there. I walk away with more questions, but I did get some answers and clarity. And listen, the way I view it, what I said in my post initially, in my hypothetical, it's pretty, I mean, listen, if she doesn't agree with the framing of it, fine. But at the same time, I think overall, the way that she is shown up in this space, it is very, the timeline of all of this just seems off. Because for me, at least, when the dark money conversation came forward, the way in which she talked about her work and her posts, it now begs the question, what's going on? What's really going on? And here's the thing. Maybe, in my opinion, take it or leave it, I just think content creator, she should just not even be a content creator. Don't be a news gatherer. Don't be a news creator. Just be a political operative. Just be a political consultant. And moving forward, we're just going to say, you know what? When we see her content, we can just go, look, it's a political consultant. It's probably from a PAC. Got it. I think the problem that we're seeing in this media ecosystem in general, and this is just not even just about her, but like what we're seeing though is that there are people who are getting money to put out this stuff. And it's one thing to get paid, whatever, a little, whatever, $100 or whatever. I'm just putting a number out, but like whatever it is. But when you're making that kind of money, like that's a different amount of money. And it's like, that's a different amount. Like it's one thing somebody said, look, I got to make a living. Got it. That ain't making a living. That's making a luxury. And by all means, you're entitled to do that. However, in this type of work, there is an ethical concern about voice. We're talking about voice. And people will sense that, you know what, your voice in this particular issue could be compromised. That, hey, politicians lie. PACs lie. That maybe your attacks on James Tallarico or future candidates, who knows what's genuine and sincere? Because we may not know. Look, when you're with the CBC, you're pretty much there to promote and amplify all of the people, most of the people, the Black folks in their respective groups. I don't know. Like, if they're a part of the CBC, like, if you're saying something about them, like, I don't know if that's because that's how you really feel. Are you ever going to really critique them? Is it only going to just be positive vibes only? We don't know. Or maybe you avoid talking about certain controversies related to some of those candidates because of what? So when you're getting paid, there is an expectation. No one's going to pay. Trust me. As a journalist, I have fought with newsrooms on stories I want to report. I'm like, listen, I'm not in the business of making people look good or making people look bad. I'm in the business of telling the truth. And at a certain point, you got to recognize that. I like her politics. I just find some of them to be questionable now that I know that she's getting paid. Like, it's like, okay, well, Maybe this is why you didn't challenge this candidate. Or maybe this is why you shy away from this. Like they were saying about Chorus, that there's a reason why certain people was not talking about Israel a certain type of way. I'm not talking about her specifically, but other people did address certain things that was going on because of it. But like mid 2024, that was when Kamala and all that was going on. So it's like, I mean, I didn't say she get paid by the Kamala campaign, but I'm just curious, like, is all of this hype, was it paid for? Was all the hype paid? So this had been going on. It's like, I just really feel like disclose. Just disclose. Label your videos. Label your reels. Don't wait before you get a full-time or full position job to disclose whether or not. If you are getting paid by anybody to influence the content that you're producing, disclose. Disclose it. If you're not disclosing, that's when the disingenuousness comes into question. That's when people begin to say, why? What's going on? And the problem is that some of these groups do not want people to disclose because they don't want it to look like they're paying for it. And if you want to go there, the Trump folks do it all the time. But the thing about mega Trump folks and Republicans, a lot of them folks, the Turning Point USA, all them conservative folk, all the people, they are proud about their shit. I don't know. If there's some trad wives out here that's doing Trump-sponsored content and shit that we don't know about, by all means, let's find out. But because I am in this community, because I am in this algorithm, right, where this is what I'm seeing, this is my matrix, then yeah, I'm going to talk about it more than I'm going to talk about some other shit that I don't know about where someone else is. And here's the thing. Every journalist got a beat. Every journalist got a focus. I have a specific focus. I don't cover everything from the fucking sky. I have a very specific focus of what is my beat and my expertise. And so a lot of social media activity, council culture, stand culture, these things, that's my beat. That's my field, in addition to political, local politics, and national politics as it pertains to Black and brown communities. Like, it is something that I do. But I think it's funny how all that stuff can get thrown down the drain when somebody's fave is, being called out. So look, as far as I go on it, it's very interesting. I appreciate her for engaging in the conversation, because she could have easily just let her stands go in the comments and defend her with delusion, and just, it would not have been productive. But I can respect and appreciate that, hey, she answered my questions. Hey, we had a conversation. We don't have to agree. I'm a journalist. She is a political consultant. She will not be the first nor the last political consultant to disagree with me and not like me. They typically don't, because sometimes I'm not going to say the things their candidates like. I'm not going to stand for it. But I just want to be able to say, for the record, as a Black woman, get your money. But, when it comes to journalism, media spaces where information hubs are, just because you're not a journalist does not mean that you don't have to sometimes understand the role of conflict of interest and how it happens when it comes to information. Listen, there's just a standard. And I think in this case, from what I've observed, I feel like there was just a lot of things that was not clarified and disclosed in a certain way. And that is why some people are uncomfortable. And I think to just dismiss, I'm not talking about her specifically, but for other folks online to say, stop pocket watching. What the fuck? First of all, how do you think journalists operate in politics? We look at who gets funded. It's not pocket. That's such a juvenile thing to say. Pocket watching political spending? It's not pocket watching. It's accountability setting. Reporters and journalists should be looking into these things. We should. We actually should. We actually should be looking into what's going on. We actually should be having these conversations when it comes to money. Because here's the crazy part, since we want to compare. When the Democrats, when these, progressive folks are having opinions and looking into monies being spent on other things, we all do that over there. So when it happens over here, we just say shut up because they're on the right side of history. That's what they believe. They believe they're on the right side of history. They're making America great again. Shut up and not talk about it. That's their take. Like I said, we keep moving that goalpost, and this is why we find ourselves in these situations. So I'm moving along. I just want to unpack that. That was a lot. I know that was a lot. This is gonna be a long ass episode because y'all didn't get no on the record Ernest. So I gotta give y'all something to savor. So in lieu of on the record Ernest Owens this week, you about to get this super episode, this mega episode. So we're moving on to media changes. So there's a death of talk shows. NBC Universal has cut Access Hollywood. Karamo, that show, which was getting some traction. It got syndicated. Steve Wilkos, and we just talked about Steve Wilkos and Jerry Springer the other day. They're now first of all, Access Hollywood. NBC Universal is cutting Access Hollywood, y'all. Oh my goodness. That's tough. Access Hollywood is like, they're ending their syndicated productions, okay? That's what they're doing. So, talk shows, Steve Wilkos, Kwame, like talk shows across the board getting slashed. A lot of shows are getting cut. It's serious out here, man. Like, woo. Paramount Skydance. Now, this is the big one over here to me right here. Paramount Skydance, which is now together, right, through the merger, has now purchased Tyler Perry's minority stake to now end BET Plus and moving it to Paramount Plus. So much to unpack. One, first of all, I wonder how much they gave Tyler Perry. Second of all, I wonder why Tyler Perry sold it. And yeah, it's something going on with Tyler Perry. I know he's got these lawsuits, but I've just been hearing mixed things about his Netflix situation. I know all the details about it, but it just seems like, I don't know. I feel like he's easing out of some things. What's going on? Maybe he's getting old. Maybe he's tired. Maybe he wants to hire a writing crew. But he getting that money while it's good. I don't know. Something's interesting about it. I find it interesting. But I'll move on. Before I get into the big loss, the big three loss, I want to talk about Sherelle Parker's budget. So you all listened to my special edition episode. Shout out to y'all for listening, y'all. I was thinking that for a lot of you all were in my comments on IG and my DMs and stuff saying to me like, we should do a special edition. I was like, do you all really want to hear my special edition episode about the budget? Like, I just didn't know. Like, I didn't know if it was sexy enough to do as a full-fledged episode. I had thoughts. Clearly, it was like about an hour long, but yeah, I just it was interesting. It was very interesting to watch, and I think it's my big thing that I talked to somebody about recently is that I feel like, and this is what I didn't say on the episode, but I thought about, in retrospect, but I feel like she should have made that, so she should have made, not soda tax, fully and slip. She should have made the Uber tax 50 cents on every ride. I think she should have just went for the juggler. And the reason why, and I also think the Amazon thing too, I think she should just did 50 cents on both. Because when I think about it, with some of these ride share services, they go through surges. But in retrospect, sometimes the price goes up, and sometimes the price go down. Uber is already surging us and taking advantage of us in ways that do not help community space. If you was going to do the tax, go for the juggler. I think she's only expecting like 12 million or something from all these taxes. If you was going to do it, just go for what you want. Like, if she would have said 24 million would have got from this, I would be like, okay, we really talking. That's some serious money. She should just went for 50 cents. Because when I think about it, 25 to 20 cents is really small. But also, too, people are pissed either way. So if you're going to tax in a way that's going to really give some real dip, because I don't know, doing all this for 12 million just seems like, it's like a little, like we could have get somebody to write a check or something. We could have go see one of them billionaire developers or somebody work with some people and fundraise that money. I just think this, if you're going to go for such a, 12 million, relatively speaking, to all the things the school district needs, she should have just doubled it to get the 24. Because 50 cents, to be honest, that is something, but I just feel like the inflection of like different things, right? You're not gonna be mad. So like sometimes, for example, I have Uber One. Uber One does not give me like I get protected from surges, I get protected from a lot of different things. That little extra 50 cents per ride I would have not felt it as much because of that. And so I don't know. I just feel like because of the fact that Uber already makes the prices go up and down, sometimes they'll go up by the dollars. Like I was in Austin and I saw Uber rides, one ride was $38 to get to where I need to go. I sit down for a little bit, that price went down to like $22. So like if they're going up and down, that 50 cents would have easily been an easy guaranteed lock in. So that was something that came across my mind with it. I just felt like go for the juggler. If you're going to tax, just tax. Shit. But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about the big three. So now last week, I broke the news that Sincere Harris, who is or was, well, I guess until March 18th. So she's still an employee for the city, but as of March 18th, she'll be leaving. I am only going to share this news from close sources that told me this information, where she's going next. Now, this isn't public yet, but this is an Ernestly Speaking exclusive. She's going to GPS. That is where she's going. She's got a big top position at GPS. GPS is a political marketing like firm. They work on campaigns. They do ads and all this stuff. They're a pretty big damn deal. They're national. Josh Shapiro pumped a lot of money for his election, his campaign into GPS to help with those services. And so she will be the head of something, but she'll have a top position and she's going to be making some really good bank. But that is where she's going. She's going back to the political consulting space, field space. She's doing her big one, but that is where she's going next. She has not officially announced this, but close sources have given me this information. Now, why is she leaving, you say? Well, I've hinted at this for a while. So anybody who's been listening to this show, I've been kind of told you that the big three, I had a feeling that we're going to lose somebody in this administration very soon. Didn't I not tell y'all that? Just say yes. Listen. So for those who've been avid listeners of Ernestly Speaking, you already know what I'm going to say. This is The Favorite. The movie The Favorite. This is The Favorite. They fighting for Queen Anne's love, and they want to be the favorite. So now, who's left is Tiffany Thompson, who is the chief of staff, and Deputy Mayor Vanessa Garrett Harley. I always get the middle. Listen. Let me see. Vanessa Garrett Harley. That is who she is. Yes, Vanessa Garrett Harley. But yeah, it's a time. It's a time. So she's a deputy. She was the deputy managing director, but now she is the deputy mayor for the Office of Children and Families. She also oversees DHS, the Philadelphia Department of Human Services. That also is under her portfolios, the Philadelphia Parks and Recreation and the Free Library of Philadelphia. She's got a lot. There's also a first deputy, Jessica Shapiro. And so there's a lot of different folks in these different positions. So it's a lot. Now, here's what I heard from sources connected to it. For quite some months, there had been friction within the big three. A lot of the friction was coming between Tiffany and Sincere. I think I'll try to not get too much in it. But Tiffany Thurman, not Thompson. Sorry. I'm just all over the place. No, Tiffany Thurman. Tiffany Thurman is the chief of staff. But allegedly, Sincere and Tiffany Thurman have butted some heads. And apparently, or allegedly, Sincere felt very strongly offended by her omission during the State of the City. Remember when I told you all that I thought it was really weird that she didn't go up and present, and only Tiffany Thurman and Vanessa Garrett Harley and others from the administration spoke, but she didn't? But she literally is a deputy mayor. I was like, why is she not speaking? They did a video that they ran of her, but they didn't let her go up and talk. I thought that was really weird. I also had noticed that her portfolio had gotten very small. Very small. The portfolio was very small compared to her previous work. And so looked like she wanted to get out of there faster, much sooner than later. It's my prerogative. That was her prerogative, okay? So, yeah, that's what happened. Now, in other news, because I am getting along, there have been some concerns. A lot of you all saw I broke some news recently. Before I left for Philly. Left for Austin. I broke some news about Roots Picnic. Yes, the tea is hot. So the news I broke about Roots Picnic was that they're not going to be at the Mann Center. So they've been at the Mann for a couple years. They used to be at Penn's Landing. They've been everywhere. But the Mann Center, there was some problems. They're now going to be at Belmont Plateau. Interesting choice. But they argue that it's the roots, it's the history of Black art and culture. They've got this video spiel about it and all that. They shared, well, they didn't break it, I broke it, but they shared the announcement officially a couple hours after I had shared it. I heard from close sources that the plan was to drop the information later next week around the same time that the 4th of July information and press conference was coming. So apparently they want to do their own thing. But after I broke my news, they kind of really jumped the gun to make this announcement because it was out there. I put it out there. It was not embargoed. No one talked to me. Of course, I'm banned from the Roots Picnic. So I get it. But yeah. So I kept playing this song, the Chaperone Show song, Good Luck Babe. And yeah, because it's like, I don't know how I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know. It can, but like size, production wise, I just don't, I don't see it. I won't be going, so good luck, babe. Okay? Good luck, babe. Because, yeah. So some sources connected to it told me that apparently the man wanted to raise the cost for them this time around, given, I think, some of the controversies of last year, which you all remember, one of my most all-time listened to episodes of all time. You all know when I called it the Philadelphia Fire Fest. It's my opinion. And I think that's the problem. People just be out here talking about, you shouldn't say that's this. I said, listen, y'all gonna have to respect the art of free speech. Free speech in this country still exists. We're still in democracy. And you just can't be out here acting like people can't give their fucking opinions. I felt like it was a fucking Philadelphia Fire Fest. I said what I said. And I still believe that. It was a horrible experience. And as somebody who was a VIP ticket holder and dealing with what I had to deal with, that shit was trash. And I don't regret that. And I have no interest in coming back. And they don't want me to come back. And the feelings are mutual. So, yeah, I said good luck, babe. They're relocating. Where they're going to go next, what they're going to do, we know some of the details, So there. I also want to bring this up. Steven Starr is dropping a new restaurant. It's another Steven Starr restaurant in Rittenhouse. This is the one that's right next to, what is this restaurant? This is the restaurant that's right next to Devon's. It's going to be where the old Devon's is, but this is the place right next to Bar Rouge. It's called the Pelican Club. It's Mediterranean dining. It is going to be coming out fall 2026. Here's my thoughts. Steven Starr is doing a lot right now. Okay, this is only going to be a year of Borromini. Now right across the street, you're about to put a Mediterranean restaurant there. I don't know about you, but I feel like we're Mediterranean out. Like, I just feel like everybody's jumping on the Mediterranean like bed. But I guess Steven Starr wants to have every single type of cuisine on his umbrella. For God's sake, don't do African food or Caribbean food. Leave the Africans alone. But I feel like he might try to do that. Because I'm like, you already got Mediterranean. Now you got Mediterranean. He's had English pub. He's got Asian cuisine. He has done Mexican cuisine. He's done Italian. Now he's doing Mediterranean. The only thing that's going to be left is like African or soul food or something. Like, what we doing? What we doing? Like, he's even an American, new American food. He's a new American cuisine, continental, the burgers and shit. So he even did barbecue, right? Like, so he done touched almost every other group. I'm trying to think who else has not been touched. I mean, English pub food, like I said. He's even, done, fine farm table food, all that. I mean, he's done a lot of different types of restaurants. So I kind of feel like the only thing left after this will be African food. And I don't want him to touch African food or Caribbean food or anything from the African diaspora. Leave that alone. Leave that alone, please. He's got French food. Yeah, he got Park. He got a steakhouse. I mean, I feel like he's done everything but African and Caribbean food at this point. So Mediterranean was the last on the list, but like, because I'm trying to think, what has he not touched? I mean, one could argue like what, Moroccan food or like Arab cuisine. I don't think he's gonna touch that. But like, I don't know, like just anything. Like, I don't, this is a trend. Like, this is like he is the Disney World of restaurants. He's gonna have a theme park, F. Scott, Animal Kingdom. He gonna have an exhibit for every type of cuisine. I'm not mad at it, but I just feel like my only thing I'm saying about this is that he has this in such an area that has a lot of Mediterranean restaurants already. I feel like Philly's Mediterranean. I just said that recently too. Like, what is with the Mediterranean restaurants? You got Nona, you got Estia. We already had Estia, but they got their own restaurant that they got. You got, oh my goodness, Dear Daphne is like right a block away. And that's Sholomonov. Has that. And so, not Sholomonov, I'm sorry, Shostin. Shostin has that. Because Michael, and then you got Michael Salmanov, who has his own Mediterranean Israeli cuisine type of situation. So, like, it's a lot going on over there around that. I just don't know if this is like Elmira. Like, that's the family of steel. You got Elmira. Like, there's a lot of Mediterranean spots or something along like pita bread and feta, Greek salads. Like, how many more of these do we need? So I don't know. Like, I mean, that's kind of how I felt when he did Borromini. It's not that I didn't enjoy some of the dishes there, but I'm just kind of like, you got a lot of like, that area of Rittenhouse has a bunch of Italian restaurants. But I guess because it's Steven Starr, he can go far. Go far with Steven Starr. I get it. I don't know. I don't know how much you can really remix it though. Like even Dear Daphne, I find Dear Daphne to be one of the less shinier gems of the Scholsten brand. There's other restaurants that I feel like could use some work. But like, I used to think Pernella was the lesser. Because Pernella was like, well, why do we have Pernella if we have Viva La Costa? Like I love Pearl and Mary. That's one of my favorites from him. Harp and Crown. Bar Leisure has grown on me, the French. I do like Bar Leisure. I've been there a couple times. It's grown on me. I do appreciate that there are more French restaurants coming to Philly because I like duck. So it's hard to find restaurants that do duck. Quack, quack. Like, it's hard to find duck, and so, it's not that many great French restaurants. So anytime someone does bring a French restaurant in Philly, it is a positive. Like, I mean, Forcia, I love Forcia. I love, Park is cool. It's not my favorite, but it's not a bad meal either, But like, there's not that many French restaurants. So anytime you can get a good French restaurant in Philly, that's a plus. Like, I feel like we don't really, like, what was the other one? Caribou Cafe, still just open again. I like Caribou Cafe, the new owners. I do like that. But yeah, it's not that many French restaurants in Philly. I feel like we could use, whatever. So I like Bar Leisure. Harp and Crown is a classic from Scholsten. I mean, Sampan. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Um, Liberty Beer Garden. I appreciate the outdoorness of it all, but it's not my favorite as far as food. It's not horrible, but it's just kind of like, but I get what he's trying to do with it, so I understand that. But I just feel like Dear Daphne, out of all of the restaurants, like I love Perlman. Like I used to think, like you know what is, uh, Prunella. Like Prunella is just like, I don't know what it brings to the conversation, but again, it's, Dear Daphne, I don't. I'm just Greeked out. I just feel like Pastiano Coast, we got that. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so many Greek restaurants. And some I'm not even naming. Some, they're like, casual, fast casual spots, like Pita Chip and whatnot. Or Euro, when we had Euro. So, I don't know. It's just, I'm not excited about it. I'm like, cool. Like I remember Borromini, it was a little exciting because the way the media was just hyping up the $20 million price tag. But yeah, this is different. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe I got to see more. It's coming out fall of this year, so we'll see. But yeah. So this week's Ask Ernest, you all wanted to know my thoughts about Target. Well, first of all, there's a double. This is a double Ask Ernest because I wouldn't answer both of these two things at the same damn time. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Target boycott, and the other thing I want to talk about is separate. But you all, these were two. I got like several different inquiries about these two topics that was dueling, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna answer both of them. And some of y'all might even take a wild guess what I'm talking about. So the first one is the Target boycott, because I could not talk about the Target situation. I am happy that people are knowing the difference between the Target fast and the national Target boycott, right? The Target fast was involving, Bishop Bryant, like, listen, hats off to that brother for, promoting it, amplifying it. I know a lot of people in his church was, with it. Good stuff, right? But here's the thing. I do personally feel like a lot of this got to his head. I do. I truly do. I feel like a lot of it got to his head in a way that I felt like was just really disingenuous. And yeah, I was just like, he really, I just felt like, first of all, there was other campaigns. Other people was doing other campaigns. Let's name that. And so when he first came out and kind of gave the impression the fast was over, the boycott was over, I was like, because you talked to Target. First of all, from what I heard, he says that he didn't get any money from Target. Like, that's what he claimed. There was no check cut to him. But, we'll find out down the road what that means, because if it wasn't, because the churches be playing games. Like, and that's a shame that churches be playing games. But, like, they'll act like, oh, I didn't get a personal check. But, like, okay, if it's going through the church and the church pays you, it's like, oh, people moving money. You know how people move money. It's just, I don't know. So he says that, he's not paid. He didn't get paid. Okay. That's what you say. Sure. But I just felt like the cavalierness of this acting like because you at this meeting that all of a sudden it's over because you're good with it. No, you're good with the results and you can be fine with those results. Personally, for me and my house, as Nina Turner said, we're not going back. I have not been back to Target. I'm good on Target. And also, by the way, I'm good on Walmart too. But y'all not trying to have that conversation. I've been going to Walmart in 16 years. Like, I don't go to Walmart. I grew up in Texas. Walmart was staple, Arkansas. My grandma, Walmart was a staple. But when I got older and learned a lot about Walmart and everything like that, when I came to Philly, I stopped going. I stopped going to Walmart. And there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, the equity, the pay equity disparage. The union busting allegations, all kind of shit goes on at Walmart. Just all kind of issues. I mean, just the mass consumerism of it all. I just don't shop at Walmart. I don't. And I don't have any intention to go back. So that's how I feel about Target. I mean, unless that CEO leaves, there's an apology. I don't know. But I'm not begging for any corporation to do any, if you don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. That's it. Like, that's just how I feel about it. And not being at Target I've been fine. I was never like codependent on Target. Now, if you take CVS away, baby, I don't know what to do. Now I'm joking. I have to leave. If I gotta boycott CVS, I will. But like I just feel like for him to just say it was over so cavalier, and it was very clear. Tamika Mallory and Nina, they said, listen, let me be very clear. They stood with it, right? So community was like, nah, we're not going back. And they didn't even give an apology. You know what I'm saying? They didn't even get a personal apology. So I just was like, I wasn't really feeling that from him. Now he's come out with an apology and gave out this long video statement. I did watch it. It is what it is. I do appreciate him, having some accountability for what he did. But I just also do feel like, once again, lessons are just not being learned in organizing. And I just feel like we find ourselves in these same issues. I guess the moral of the story is stop letting celebrities or these types of people dictate and center themselves in our day-to-day. There is a space and place for them, but I don't think they should be taking the lead. That's just my opinion, clearly. So the other issue is with Jules. Jules is the son of Solange Knowles. He is a model. That's Tina's grandbaby. That's Beyonce's nephew. I just want to start by, well, no, let me wait before I get into that. But I just was like, damn. When I saw that go down or whatever, I was like, damn, brother. Yeah, it was very, yeah, I was like, damn, that's kind of unfortunate, when I got word about what happened. So so let me back up, because I have to remind myself that this is everybody's not gay. So he went to an Atlanta gay club. He hosted a night at Atlanta, at a gay club in Atlanta. They hired him to host. It was a big news. Gay Magazine, which is this online media outlet that covers gay news, GAYE news. They go by Gay Magazine. Gay Magazine is the name of the outlet. So it's but they're not a physical magazine, but they do coverage or whatnot on social. Their social media is incredible. So it's GAYE Magazine. And they basically, for the most part, cover Black gay news. They're very intentional on Black gay news. So our highs, our lows, when homophobia happens, the trans community, they cover the whole the Black LGBTQI community. And they partner with different brands. They do a lot of sex education. Pretty dope outlet. They're fun. They're safe. They have their moments, but it's just better. It's like in a world where you have the shade room that don't amplify community, don't celebrate it. They give us nuance. There's bad and good and everything, but this is good conversation, and this is some good. I enjoy the content. It's a safe space for me personally. So here's the thing. What's been interesting lately to see, and this has just been a lot, is that, okay, he hosts this. He identifies as straight, but he hosts this event, and he's supposed to be booking an interview with Gay Magazine, because they're supposed to be there in Atlanta. They're going to go down there, interview Jules, talk to him or whatever. This guy shows up. Apparently, he's uncomfortable at the club. He's not very friendly. He's to himself. He kind of comes, he dips. He refuses to do the interview with them after his team had set up the interview. He then refuses to do the interview. And it was just very disappointing to see how this played out, because it was like, wow, dude, this is how you feel about us? Like, I didn't even know that. He says, when you realize ain't nothing but a club and some money being made, with a smiley face. And y'all don't be mad when I come 20 girls deep with laughing emojis. So Gay Magazine clapped back and said, no more fake allies. Collecting a check is not allyship. Booking an LGBTQ event without acknowledging them as your fans is not allyship. Being quiet about your support for us when it gets challenging for you is not allyship. Because for a while, there was talks about people who was questioning sexuality. And I guess in many ways he's dismissed those allegations, which is his prerogative, but very telling. They said, thanks to all the gays who tuned in to our TikTok live last night. As seen during the live, Jules declined to participate in the interview. To clarify, Gay Magazine did not book Jules for the appearance. We were brought in solely to help promote the event and to interview him. So they did not book him for the appearance. He was already booked, but they asked him, the club and people, wanted Gay Magazine to promote the event and interview him, which was supposed to happen. They said it's also important to note that Jules' interview had been scheduled in advance, and both Jules and his rep were sent the questions, which were reviewed and approved beforehand. Well, that's not journalistic, but I get it. Last minute before arriving, we were notified not to ask Jules the following question. Last minute before arriving. The question was, that they were told not to ask him, was, what inspired you to host an LGBTQ event? And is that something you see yourself continuing in the future, possibly during Pride? He was not allowed to ask that. They shared the questions that they did want him to ask. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they said, let's be clear, no one is obligated to do an interview. However, performative allyship is not cool. It is particularly important that when public figures schedule events for the LGBTQ plus community, they maintain their integrity, especially during this current political climate. It's important for us to also mention that LGBTQ plus hostings must also change. Paying a celebrity to sit in the venue without at least getting on the club mic and welcoming their supporters for attending should no longer be acceptable. This should apply to all celeb club appearances, whether gay or straight. I agree. And then they said, despite everything that happened on our live, we shouldn't be so quick to dismiss a heterosexual celebrity who shows up for the LGBTQ plus community for the first time. You don't truly know who someone is until they're given the opportunity to prove it. Unfortunately, the allyship test was failed in real time. Allyship is earned, not given. That's fair. So yeah, I'm very disappointed in Jules. I'm very disappointed in Jules. We just need to just start it's a lot. But I just want to say that we need as a community, and I say this a lot, that in the Black gay community, just in LGBTQ plus community, period, we need to start amplifying and giving support to people in our own community. There are tons of openly Black gay musicians and artists. Like, before I go up for a straight person, I'm telling you artists I listen to that's Black and queer, right? Jamarcus Henderson, my bestie, my lip brother, my most listened to queer artist. I listen to him more than any other queer artist that's in my orbit. Duran Bernard, who I go up for. I'm so excited for his success, his Grammy win. But like, we got people out here in our community that's even local in some spaces that is making music, doing their thing. And when you don't celebrate those people, but you consistently keep chasing approval from the straights, you neglect. And then we turn around and we watch the Grammys or we watch award shows and go, why isn't one of our people? Why they always? Because look how we show up for our people. We don't even give them opportunities in their own space. And so I'm tired of it. I think to prevent these types of things, listen, allies, quote unquote, that y'all say are the ones that y'all love, can we get automatic, certified, guaranteed, bona fide? Like, y'all can say what y'all want about Madonna, but Madonna is a true ally. Gaga is. Like, if y'all want to bring them, y'all know it's going to be a good time. Janet Jackson, you got to bring out the girls. Even Beyonce, hell, is a better ally than this man. But I want to also add this. Why is all the Nose Carter men disappointing us in that family? Jay-Z with his bullshit. Matthew knows with his bullshit. Now Jules, the father, the husband, the nephews, like, everybody's just fucking up. The men of the Nose Carter family clan, they are fucking up over there. The only one that hasn't given us any problems yet is, you already know who is the baby, the son. He the only one. Now, Kelly Rowland's husband not acting up. Solange, I think she might be, she good. I think, but her previous one wasn't. But Sir Carter, he ain't bothering nobody. He the only, one in the Carter clan, the only male figure. He a little baby. But listen, Sir Carter, only male in that family that seemed like he got some sense, because even Jules done fucked up. And I was rooting for Jules. I've been hearing about Jules and his antics on social media for years, but I always thought, Jules was out here doing fashion, doing his thing. I just thought he was a better brother than that. I'm disappointed. So moving along, in music, I want to talk about this because I'm going to save the Oscars for last, because I have so many thoughts about the Oscars. But let me say this. Jack Harlow, y'all still trying to make this a thing? His album is called Monica. Y'all know what he really trying to say. Listen carefully. Manica. I'm just saying. I'm trying to say it slowly. Manica. You get it? Yeah, okay. But it's a play on words. But then also, it's an R&B album, so it's named Monica. So I'm just kind of like, are you also trying to pay homage to Monica, who I guess you had a little crush on her or something? It's very subversive. It's very subversive. Because my thing is, why couldn't you just call the album Brandy? He did an interview with 2 other white music journalists at the New York Times. So 3 white men talking about him crossing into this R&B level and all this stuff. And he basically said in an interview, just outright, that he got blacker. It's 2026. I know there are people talking about how much the album is good and sounds good. And, I heard some shit just on the algorithm, like on my, you have playlist, it's like the shuffle. It was something that came through. And I just was like, here's the thing. This goes back to what I said earlier about allyship. These things go hand in hand. In a world where black male musicians, there's some good ones, like a Duran Bernard, right, that are fighting to get on those stages and to get their albums to sell. Even black women in R&B. A Jack Harlow who can just jump into different genres because of his white privilege and does not have to work as hard as a Beyonce in order to do it. And interesting enough, Jack Harlow, none of these white guys who even play in the music game, they get to hop around and be whatever they want to be. And no one gives them the same level of hell. And so him doing this R&B album, it's like, oh, what, the rap got tired? What, because you can't, because Kendrick is here? So what R&B guy we gonna prop up? And for the life of me, do not say Chris Brown or Trey Songz, please. But like, who we gonna have to amplify in this time? Because I think that's what I'm seeing here, is that it's the Blue-Eyed Soul. Like, first of all, you act like you're doing something different. It's like, sir, we didn't already have Blue-Eyed Soul. We didn't have Justin Timberlake. We didn't have Robin Thicke. Like, let's not, okay? Even Sam Smith, but he was a little, they was a little different with how they presented their music. So Sam Smith's, he had a little bit of Blue-Eyed Soul. They had a little bit of Blue-Eyed Soul. But their music is different, They use they, them pronouns. I haven't talked about them in a minute, so bear with me. But no, Sam Smith's music, there's a queer element to it. And they have R&B inspiration, but they also do have the larger pop lane that they stay in. So that's that. But I say this about Jack Harlow. What's concerning is the idea of thinking that they're having this voyeuristic experience of really trying to really deep study Black culture in a way where they can hit this music right. And people like it, but it's like, we make these mistakes. And then if he gets a bunch of Grammys or beats some of our other faves, then you're going to go and turn around and go, oh, you see how they do? No, this is just, I just feel like, where's Jack Harlow any other time talking about other shit? It's like very interesting how he shows up when he's got an album to sell. But all this other stuff going on in the world, he typically just goes into white land. I don't know. I just feel like, again, it's that performativeness for me. So I don't really care. I don't care if the album's good or bad. I just don't care. I'm not listening to it. I don't. He doesn't. He's no, no, not at all, not at all. And then the whole get got blacker. Can we stop acting like black culture and black identity can be something that can be put on as a costume? I just find all this shit to be problematic. Cultural appropriation, we don't talk about enough, but it's giving that right here. So yeah. Um with TV, two things happen on TV. Where do I want to start? I want to start with the man inside the manosphere. So Netflix, a Netflix documentary called Inside the Manosphere. I don't want to get all into the details. I don't want to tell everything, but I think that every young man, even old man, I think every man in America should watch this, especially cishet men. But every man can benefit watching Inside the Manosphere. I highly recommend this documentary. It is deep, insightful. It's good. It's really good. It's about what's going on in this current industry around masculinity and society. Oh, it's good. I highly recommend it. And then before we get to the Oscars, because I know everybody waiting for that, because I'm waiting for that too. The greatest average American, this show, I was watching Abbott Elementary, and I actually got a chance to finally get to watch it at home sitting down, because normally I have to DVR it. But I watched it. And right after it, this show called The Great Average American by Nate Bargatze, or whatever his name is. He's a comedian, I guess, a blue-collar comedian, whatever his comedy is. He's a white guy. And this show is so white. Like, the whole audience is white, everybody's white. But what got me was that the show is predicated on guessing what the average, quote-unquote, American would answer. Not what the right answer is, but what you think the average American would believe. And so it's such an interesting show because you're supposed to just basically, I guess, underestimate people's smartness and also just assume they're basic and say, well, what is the basic thing? So, like, for example, they said, well, who's had the best album here? What did the average American say? Taylor Swift or Beyonce? Well, my answer is going to be Taylor Swift. Not because the better album was Beyonce's. I mean, Beyonce clearly had the better album. But I would just say, what was the average American? Well, the average American is white and straight and Anglo-Saxon. So when I look at this stuff, what was interesting is pretty much saying how to think like a white person. So when I was watching it, I got a lot of the answers correct. I was like, oh shit. Like, oh, I guess I know white people. The crowd, there was no one black. I was like, But it's an interesting show. Like, it's game show TV stuff. It's comical. Don't take it seriously. But I highly recommend if you can get a chance to watch it, just watch it for the shits and giggles. It's quite fascinating because I just sat there like I would look at the answer and I'll be like, oh, this is the answer because this is such a ridiculous like thing, right? And so I was like, you know what? I need to, because it's like, what would scare a person, right? A werewolf, elf on the shelf. Like, I'm black. Elf on the shelf scared. Like, that elf all over the place, it's weird to me. Like, that would creep me out. But for them, it was a werewolf. Okay. So elf on the shelf, but werewolves. Got it. So yeah, it's that type of game. It's really funny. But I highly recommend watching it. So yeah.
So the Oscars. So much. I feel good. I feel good. It was a very interesting night. To put it there. A lot of history was made, a lot of surprises. So let's get to it. You all saw my lovely, Oscar night party with the Philadelphia Film Society. They had another great night. It was a lovely party. It just did some major renovations at the Prince. It used to be called the Prince Theater, the Harold Prince Theater, but now it's just simply the Philadelphia Film Society. And they have had some major upgrades there. They do actual movies there. You can get movie tickets and watch some really great films there. And it's like right there on 15th and Chestnut. It's like right next to the Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse. Like, there's a whole movie theater right there. And I don't know if people really know that. It's right across the street from Dose and the W, in that Weston Hotel, like that whole hotel right there. That's in the middle of Central City on 15th and Chestnut. It's like right there, and people sleep on it. It's beautiful. So the party was lovely. It was very fabulous. We dressed up in a very cute theme. It was like this Sinners theme. Mr. Johnson had on a fit that maybe Stack would have worn, and it was nice. It was a nice time. So the show itself, overall, I liked it. I thought it was a really good pace. Conan O'Brien, he's funny enough. Um, some things dragged. It felt really white, as far as the hosts go. I mean, Sinners winning, making the wins at one, it was definitely melanated on that front. But it was definitely very, I mean, I didn't really see too many black people presenting awards. I just felt like it just felt very white in that regard. The show was, I mean, they had two musical performances. I could appreciate that. Normally, the Academy Awards typically try to have every nominated song perform. They only picked, in my opinion, the two front runners for the award. And clearly, K-pop Demon Hunters Golden won, which, I mean, was a Billboard #1 hit. No one, I mean, I think at one point, I lie to you, people thought that might have had a chance because it was picking up some press. But at the end of the day, it was no match for a Billboard Hot 100 song. Typically, the song that like really does well and crosses over typically wins. So, for example, Billie Eilish, "What Was I Made For?" Skyfall by Adele, "Shallow" by Lady Gaga, right? I'm thinking of like all these massive popular songs. If the song really has that major crossover appeal to it, it typically wins. Or if there's a big artist connected to the song, like a big named artist. Not always. That's not always the case. But either the song has to have, like, I think, I'm thinking about Frozen, like Let It Go, right? That even though the lead singers were not like, I mean, it was Idina Menzel, but it wasn't like a global artist singing that song. I think it beat the likes of that Pharrell song "Happy," which was another hit. But Let It Go was like colossal. Any given year, I think "Happy" by Pharrell from Despicable Me 2 or whatever, that would have been a different story. So sometimes it changes, but normally, if the song is really strong in the film, but also just has this larger, massive appeal, that typically wins. So there were only two songs that performed, which I didn't mind. Barbara Streisand came out and sung the "In Memoriam," which I know I'm getting older. I feel much older because the people that were losing, I'm like, I know these people. Like when I was younger watching the Oscars, I didn't recognize all of the people. Like I would be like, who's that? Or they look familiar. But when they had like Robert Redford, Diane Keaton, like Catherine O'Hara, like I was like, okay, we're getting a little too close. Like this is feeling like it's too many people I'm recognizing. But I'm realizing, oh, because I grew up with these people. Like Catherine O'Hara was, Home Alone. She was the mom. Of course she was in Schitt's Creek later in the studio, but I knew her originally in the Home Alone movies. So, Diane Keaton, I mean, my God, where do I start? Like I remember Diane Keaton. I mean, I was younger and I saw a movie called Annie Hall, directed by Woody, Woody Allen. A mess. Now he's a mess. But Diane Keaton did a movie that I watched that I had no business watching at my age when it came out. I think I was like maybe 13 or something. Something's Got to Give with her and Jack Nicholson. One of the last great Jack Nicholson films. I would say his last. I mean, he doesn't. It's interesting because I've been asking this question for like the last 2 years, and like no one answers it. But where's Jack Nicholson? Like, I know he hasn't passed away because if he passed away, woo, we would all know. Like the world would know. So he's clearly alive, but he has been, from what I started doing some research, he seems to be out of the public eye, and it doesn't seem like he's in the best health. But he seems to be completely like, I'm like, how did we just lose Jack Nicholson like out of the conversation? Like, I remember he was, he's one of the greatest artists, actors of a generation. Like when I was growing up, like Dustin Hoffman, Jack Nicholson, like where's Dustin Hoffman? Like these were the people. Like, am I missing something here? But like these were like legends. Um, they're just certain actors that you just knew. And they were taken seriously. Like that's an actor. Like Robert, I mean, of course Denzel, but like Robert De Niro, Al Pacino. Like these are like the Mount Rushmore, and some other mores on the list, but these are like the actors. Like that's an actor. Robert Redford was an actor. Like you just know Ben Kingsley. Like, these are the people. These were the people I grew up when I was younger hearing like these are legendary actors. Like these are serious actors. These are not like, Kevin Hart's of the world. These are not jokes, you know. Like, okay, I'll give an example. Like Jim Carrey. Now, Jim Carrey is a good actor, but, in the conversation, you're not saying, you know, let me be nice. I'm just you get what I'm getting. You get what I'm saying here. So yeah, In Memorial was very sentimental. Um, I love the Sinner's performance, Misty Copeland doing the ballerina. I mean, shots were fired at Timothy Chalamet the whole night. Like, poor little baby. But I mean, he brought it himself, so it is what it is. But I just feel like, okay, I can be honest now. Now that the Oscars is over and the award season over, can I just say this thing? I felt like people kicked out with a dead horse. I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever. I know his family's in the ballet business and they're dancers and all that, but like I felt like people really like dragged it. And I guess for me, I wasn't that upset because I knew that by people dragging it, that was giving Michael B. Jordan a better chance of winning. I do think it's safe to say that Timothy Chalamet was the front runner initially for this award, but the tides change. A good example of this is Eddie Murphy. This happens throughout the Academy, like throughout award seasons. Eddie Murphy's a good example. He was the front runner for Dreamgirls. Like I just knew he was going to win for Dreamgirls. Like he was the front runner for Best Supporting Actor, and then Norbit happens during the middle of the Oscar campaign. Norbit happens and everyone's like, oh, he's back to making those movies. Because Eddie Murphy had a period of time of doing these movies where, like, these movies would not pass in the 21st century. I mean, well, I guess Norbit was in the 21st century, but like, these movies would not work in the 2020s. Like, fat suits, body suits, this like level of fat phobia as humor. Like, that type of like dirtbag comedy does not work. Like we don't watch movies. Like no one would make a movie. I mean, I won't say never, but like the way that Scary Movie used to make the type of humor of those type of movies are very immature. I used to always call them milk carton humor because it would be the joke where I'm gonna be a little graphic here, but this is the best way to describe it. Where you would hear the kid at the school drinking milk and making it come out his nose, like that kind of like sloppy humor, like that Adam Sandler Big Daddy type of movies. Like I never liked comedies like that. I never found them funny. I was always grossed out. I was like a prude. I was like, ugh, that's just like that was the type of humor that people thought like it was a lot of physicality, and people thought that type of like banal humor was comedic because it was physical and it was very grotesque. Versus modern comedy today, there's a level of like black comedy, like there's like metaphors and dark humor and that type of like you have to have a little bit of like I love this era of comedy. Like there's shade and there's punch and there's wit, like that kind of comedy versus the physical comedy. And I think the last person to really do it like that people I think we now realize is cringe is Tiffany Haddish. Like Tiffany Haddish had that goofball type of comedy that just does not. She was like the last of that era in modern comedy. I feel like, um, yeah, no one wants that. I mean, at least now. I mean, who knows? But yeah, that type of humor is just it doesn't land well. People want a different type of comedy, and yeah, I'll say that. But Yeah, it was a great night. It was a twist and turns. What I loved was that there was a lot of love for a lot of films. There was a lot of love for a lot of films. F1 got an Oscar for sound, which is nice. Hamlet, Hamnet got an Oscar for best lead actress, the only Oscar he got the entire awards. Frankenstein got a couple of Oscars, 3 Oscars, not bad. Sinners got 4. Well, gets there. One battle after another, won a few, won 5, won I think it won the most Oscars, but at 5. But like the type of era where a film could get 8 or 10, I don't know. Well, let me not say never because you never know. But I think we're interested. I think what I loved about this year's Oscars was that it was very competitive. You really did not know who was going to win. It was suspense. It was real competition. It was a fun time for the movies. And that was fun. So I'll get into some of the major categories. Um, hmm. Best Supporting Actress went to Amy Madigan for Weapons. Not shocked. Not shocked at all. She was good in it, let's be honest, for those who have seen it. I get annoyed when the Johnny Come Latelys of award season shows up and they begin to complain about this and that. If you have not watched all the movies, please put your hand down. If you don't understand the historical context of a role or the actor playing the role to understand how awards work, I always tell people that award shows, like everything, is political. There's a bunch of politics behind why a person wins or loses, and it's not about merit, okay? And that works in favor of people you like and don't like. So you can't be biased, like people will argue that. Like when you think about Beyonce, right? Beyonce has been robbed of certain wins, but Beyonce has also won certain things when she didn't necessarily deserve it in a particular year. And so there are people that win because it's their time. Sometimes it feels like a Lifetime Achievement Award. Everybody has their moment, their day, right? So Amy Madigan, I think that she was the strongest. Now I can tell you my actual opinions. Like now that the award's over and one cannot argue, I'm influencing it. I can now be frank about some things, right? So Amy Madigan, I think, deserved to win. I think that if we're talking about the performance, it was the more showier performance. It was a performance that she had multiple scenes that I thought were Oscar worthy. I think Wumu Musaku, I loved her in Sinners. I thought it was a great performance, but it was more of a chemistry ensemble performance. It wasn't like a standalone performance on its own. Like there's not that many scenes in the film where I could say that's the moment when I knew she should have got an Oscar. It seemed like that performance rides the wave off of other people's in the scene. Whereas if you look at Amy Madigan, right, or you look at like other Best Supporting Actress performances, most of the time, a Best Supporting Actor performance, because it is a smaller part in the film, there has to be a major climactic part where the art, like you can't, like this actor can't, the lead actor can't do this without the supporting actor. Like basically the supporting actor is a small but mighty performance. Like it almost moves the ship. Sometimes it can even outpace the actor, right? So I give you good examples of that. Octavia Spencer in The Help, right? Now that's a controversial film. People got opinions about it, but literally she drives the film. Like she drives it. Like there's certain parts in that film that plot wise, if she was not in it, she drives it and she's strong. And there's so many memorable roles in The Help with her in it that you can't deny her. Viola Davis in Fences. Now, let me just say this. That was category fraud. Viola Davis should have been nominated for Best Lead Actress, and honestly, she should have won. She should have beat Emma Stone for La La Land. But we won't get into all of that. It was category fraud. That's a lead role, okay? But they put it in supporting, which I knew she would win. And there's a lot of category fraud that happens throughout the Oscars with supporting roles. So there's that. A good example of a category fraud that actually got reversed was Kate Winslet in The Reader. She was winning Best Supporting Actress for that film the entire time. And I said, that is a lead role. Like, that is not a supporting role. And finally, the Oscars addressed the category fraud and put her in lead, and then she won for lead. Outstanding. Kate Winslet, outstanding. That's the time where it was helpful. But yeah, I see a lot of category fraud. But a good example of a supporting role, Monique in Precious. Monique was incredible in Precious. She plays the role very well. It's a strong supporting role. Gabrielle Sidibe's character does not reach new heights without Monique's driving presence. She's not in the film all the time, but every scene she steals it. Divine Joy Randolph, okay, Divine Joy Randolph in in the leftovers or whatever, right? The hangouts, the left outs or whatever. She's incredible in that. Like if anyone who watches it, every scene she's in, she's grabbing you. She's taking you in it. And that's what you want in a supporting role. I felt like The Holdovers, that's the name of the film. The Holdovers, that's what it was. I feel like, in my opinion, the only the only performance that really did that for me was Amy Madigan. I felt like Tiana Taylor was not in one battle after another enough. I mean, she did have some memorable parts, but I felt like it was not really acting. I felt like it was more performance. Like it was very much like salaciousness, but I was like, I never looked at the performance and went like, wow, this is acting. I think it was just a lot of shockingness in it. And, it's not bad work, but it wasn't, I just didn't think it was an Oscar worthy performance. So Amy Madigan did, and I liked it. I thought it was good for the horror genre. Like horror performances oftentimes don't win Oscars. And she's also married to Ed Harris, and she's been in the game for 40 years, and she's been beloved for quite some time. Like, so this was one of those things where I felt like it made sense that she that she did that. I think it's important to note that. And she's also have been nominated, in the past. 40 years ago, she was nominated for in 1986. 40 years ago. So 40 years later, she comes and she finally wins an Oscar. What a beautiful story, And, to know Amy Madigan as an actress as well, this woman is 75 years old. So she was 35 years old when she was nominated for an Oscar. And she is married to Ed Harris. But yeah, she's just, this is a situation where, she's just done some, she had the longest gap between two nominations for an actress. The longest gap. The longest gap. Twice in a Lifetime was the movie. It came out in 1985. And that's when she was nominated. 40 years gap. So there's a big story why she won. And that's the context that people ignore when people win. They just go, ugh, she just won. Why? No, she was phenomenal. You should watch her in it. Best Supporting Actor, Sean Penn. Okay? Again, not surprised by that win. Sean Penn, like a supporting role, he drives one battle after another. In my opinion, I think that Sean Penn had the best acting role out of everybody in that film. I think Leo was good, but I think Sean Penn is a villain. I think he just embodied that role. I think he's the best performance out of everybody in the entire film. And so when he won, I wasn't surprised. I looked at the politics. One battle after another had a strong ensemble. A lot of people won. A lot of people were nominated for acting roles. I mean, even his category, he was against Benicio del Toro. Benicio del Toro, who's already won an Oscar for Traffic many years ago. This is Sean Penn's third Academy Award. He ties with the most wins for an actor, not actress. Actor. Actress, it's Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn has the most Oscar wins. She's won 4. Meryl Streep, of course, has won 3 Oscars, and so has Frances McDormand. But for the male Oscars, for the male winners, there's only been a few. Daniel Day-Lewis, Jack Nicholson, and another actor that was like in the back of like the 1930s who won, and now Sean Penn. And so it's only it's a exclusive club. It's only 3 other actors who have achieved this: Daniel Day-Lewis, Jack Nicholson, and Walter Brennan, who won in 1936, 1938, and 1940. So this is before any of us were alive. Yeah, that was like 80 years ago. That's crazy. 80 years ago. This man won 80 years ago. So, like, he won his first Oscar. Well, damn. He won his first Oscar 90 years ago? 90 years ago. In 1936. Wow, that was 90 years ago, y'all. Ooh, wee. So, yeah, that's how long ago that happened. And then Jack Nicholson won for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in 1975. That was 50 years ago, y'all. Terms of Endearment in 1983, and As Good as It Gets in 1987. This man next year will have an Oscar that is 30 years old. He hasn't won an Oscar in like 30 years, nearly 30 years. Man, I miss Jack Nicholson. He had a career, man. He's 88 years old. He'll be turning 89 years old. He's getting up there. He's going to turn 89 in April. Something's just telling me to talk about Jack Nicholson. I don't know. Why is he on my mind? This reminds me of like Harry Belafonte. Remember I talked about him, and then next thing you know, I don't know. Just remember this conversation. We got so many legends. Diane Keaton and him was in Something's Got to Give. I watched that the other day, where she had a love interest in Keanu Reeves. Did y'all go watch that if you haven't seen it? It's one of my favorite films. But yeah, so Sean Penn is a part of this exclusive club now. Sean Penn is now in the conversation. He's 65 years old, and he won for Mystic River and Milk within 5 years. He won for Mystic River in 2003, and then he won for Milk in 2008. He played Harvey Milk, one of my favorite lead actor performances of all time. That movie gets me every time. It's one of my favorite films. And pretty much that he won his last Oscar, like, it's giving what, about 18 years ago. 18 years ago. And now he's just won. 18 years later, he won again for One Battle After Another. He did not go to accept his award. He hasn't really gone to any award shows when he's won. He didn't win. He didn't go to BAFTA. He didn't go to SAG. He didn't even go to the Oscars. Like he just have not. He's not into the competitiveness, the campaigning. He's not really into that. Like he doesn't play into it. He did not campaign for the Oscar. They gave it to him anyway. But it was for a great performance. Like, do I love Delroy Lindo? I do. But I think that he's done better roles. I think that The Five Bloods was great. Crooklyn. So many other films he's done in his career that I think is worthier of, should have been nominated, to be clear. I think it's great that he got the nomination, but I didn't think personally, performance-wise, that it was the strongest out of the categories. Stellan Skarsgård would have been my pick outside of Sean Penn for sentimental value. I thought that was a great performance. If Sean Penn wouldn't have won, I would have given it to Stellan Skarsgård. I could see the case for both of them. Those two were my personal, I think, meteor acting roles. Benicio del Toro was good, but he just wasn't the best. And, like I said, Delroy Lindo, love him. But, he wasn't in the film enough to warrant the Oscar win, in my opinion. Best Original Screenplay and Adapted Screenplay went to Ryan Coogler and, of course, Paul Thomas Anderson. We knew that was going to happen, period. No brainer there. They both deserve to win their respective categories in the screenplay. Adapted means it was adapted from a different source material. And original is a whole creative idea, which is what Ryan Coogler went for. So that was good. I have no complaints there. Other categories. Best Director went to Paul Thomas Anderson. Look, I'm not mad at it. I need people to understand who Paul Thomas Anderson is. I get it. We want it, Ryan Coogler. I'll put it like this. Ryan Coogler, if we're talking about the film itself, should have won. However, this is politics, okay? And I think this is one of those situations like Beyonce, okay? I don't think that Cowboy Carter is Beyonce's best album. I think that the year she won, I would have given it to Brat.
by Charlie XCX. I thought that was it, but I also felt like the year that Harry Styles won, I think she should have won for Renaissance. I think that the year that Adele won for her second album of the year win, I think she should have won for Lemonade. Um, I even think the year of self-titled, I think that when Beck won, I think she should have won for self-titled. I think Beyonce should have won for self-titled, Lemonade, and Renaissance. I think she was been robbed 3 times. Taylor Swift has 4 album of the year wins, and she should have not won for all 4. I think at best she should have won. Hmm. 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 I think she should have won for folklore, absolutely for folklore. I struggle with 1989 because part of me wants to say Kendrick should have won that year, but then I feel like that wasn't Kendrick's strongest album, so I think 1989 is fine. But Fearless, no. I mean, Beyonce could have won for I Am Sasha Fierce, but even that didn't need to win. Like, if I look at what was nominated that year, who won, what was she nominated against that year for the Grammys? I think, to me, there was another album that should have won, and I'm thinking about it right now, but I knew for me it was neither one of them. I don't think that was both of their strongest albums. So for album of the year, in my opinion, this could be considered controversial, but not really, because this was a different year, a different era. Um, I'm trying to find which category it was. I'm trying to make sure I have it, the year it was all together, because there was different. It was a complicated award show, so I'm thinking about which year it was. Was it this year? Maybe. Let me see. Okay, let me go back. But anyway, I think that different artists win for different years. Certain artists deserve, I won't say certain that don't, right? So, okay. I got that one. Okay, so here it goes. I know what should have won album of the year. So Fearless won, right? And then I Am Sasha Fierce was also the one that people thought could win. But also nominated was the END by the Black Eyed Peas, The Fame by Lady Gaga, and then Big Whiskey in the Groove Grux King by Dave Matthews Band. The Fame by Lady Gaga should have won Album of the Year that year. Like, now that we've seen Gaga's career, now that time has passed, right? I think it's safe to say that Gaga should have won for The Fame. Her first album is one of her best albums. It is the album that I think she should have won for the most. I think she was robbed. I don't think Taylor Swift should have won for Fearless. I don't think that I Am Sasha Fierce should have won. I think that The Fame by Gaga should have won. Because now, other people winning. I think she should have won for that year. I think that Taylor Swift should have only won Album of the Year twice. 1989, and she should have won for Folklore. I agree with those wins. Beyonce should have won 3 times. She should have won for Self-Titled, she should have won for Lemonade, and she should have won for Renaissance. I don't think she should have won for Cowboy Carter. So that's my thoughts. But however, we know that sometimes you get to a point where you got to give them something. And I think with Beyonce getting to that point in her career, that's where we were getting. Here's the thing that I will tell you about Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson has been doing films for over 30 years. He's given us iconic films. There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, The Master, Licorice Pizza, Magnolia, One Battle After Another. Like, classic, Phantom Thread, Punch Drunk Love, Inherent Vice. I mean, this man has done so much great work. He's been nominated for Best Director multiple times, and has not won. So I think this is one of his moments like Martin Scorsese. Like, we all know The Departed was okay. It was cool. It wasn't a bad film. I like it. But Martin Scorsese should have won for Raging Bull. He should have won for Goodfellas. Like, this man was snubbed. And so when he finally won for The Departed, we said, you know what? Fine, right? So I think that Ryan Coogler in that year, right, he should have won. But I'm okay with Paul Thomas Anderson, especially knowing that, hey, Ryan Coogler did walk away with an Oscar. But this was Paul Thomas Anderson's night. He won for
Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and he also won for Best Picture as a producer. So it was his night in that regard, you know? So, I'm not tripping on it. I don't think, well, we'll get to Best Picture in a minute. We'll get to that. But let's get to other categories. Jessie Buckley won for Best Actress. No surprise there. Fabulous win. She deserves. She ate. I mean, no brainer. No brainer. I mean, I don't think no one this entire season was touching her. They should be happy they were nominated alongside of her. Rose Byrne did a good job. Other actors did a good job. Other actresses. But Jessie Buckley, the moment I saw that film, I was like, no one's touching this. This is like, I told you all that this was one of the best performances I've seen in recent years. Like any other year, she would have knocked anybody up. Like these are one of those performances where put her, like, that's how I feel about Charlize Theron in Munster. One of my all-time favorite Best Actress wins of all time. Like one of my all-time favorite wins. I just feel like if you put her in any category with anybody out in the past 10, 15 years, nobody's touching Charlize Theron in Munster. Nobody's touching that. Nobody's touching that. I don't care. Put her in the ring with anybody. But win, lose, or draw, she's winning every time. In the 21st century. That is the best lead actress performance of the 21st century. Period. Nobody's touching Charlize Theron in Munster in the 21st century. Now the 20th century, look, Katharine Hepburn 8. I'm not playing with y'all in the 20th century. But the 21st century, I don't know any other Best Actress win that is better than Charlize Theron in Munster. Hands down. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it. She transforms into Aileen Wuornos. One of the best actress performances of all time. Okay? I'm saying that Jessie Buckley is definitely in the top 3. Definitely in the top 3 of best lead actress performances of the 21st century. She's definitely in the top 3. Definitely in the top 3. So yeah, I just mesmerizing performance. Outstanding. It was going to win. Now, best lead actor. I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. One, Michael B. Jordan won, and I was so happy for him. I was hollering. I was like, oh my goodness, this really happened. And when he won, I had this gut thought like, ooh, are we gonna see a best actor? Is best picture still up for grabs? It wasn't. But I had my hopes, you know what I'm saying? I was really, I just had thoughts. Michael B. Jordan winning was just touching on so many levels. I mean, what a career. This man is 39. He's been acting most of his entire life. He's been in the game for over 30 years. I remember growing up having, not over 30, over 20 years. I remember I had a crush on him when I was younger, when he was on All My Children. His character was named Reggie or Reginald. And I was like, who's this guy? Like, who's this guy? And then he's, before then he was in Hardball. He was in all this. And then he pops up in this Ryan Coogler film called Fruitvale Station. I'm like, oh. Because I remember he used to have braids. Like, that was his thing. He was in The Wire. Like, he always had the braids. And his face never fully matched his body. And he got taller and grew a little bit. And he grew into his looks. And then he looked better as he got older, But yeah, he's been chasing this. And let me say, I will say I was the most impressed with this performance. I've struggled with, you all have known my journey struggling with him, with his acting. I just never felt like I was convinced by him. Here's what I'm going to say though, because I got to be real on this podcast. I thought the best performance out of the 5 was Timothée Chalamet for Mari Supreme. I cried. His performance, I believed him. He was an asshole. He played the fuck out that role. He eats. But Timothée Chalamet is young, and he's a young, protege. He's going to be the James Dean of his generation, young Leo. And I don't care what anybody say. That man can act his ass off. Call Me by Your Name, A Complete Unknown. This dude has 3 Best Lead Actor nominations. And he should have got a supporting one for Beautiful Boy, but we ain't gonna talk about it. But 3 lead actor nominations. This guy is going up against heavyweights. He's in categories with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's in categories with with like heavy hitters, y'all. Like this guy is holding his weight. This man has been nominated in these roles in his 20s and now 30. Like he's playing like this man will get an Oscar by 40. Like I mean, look, everybody makes mistakes. He'll humble himself. He'll get there. He'll be all right. He's white, so he's gonna be fine. But like he's going to get an Oscar. And I mean, he's on par of like at this point. I mean, my thing with Timothy, maybe what he needs to do is get in a supporting role. Get in a supporting role like Viola Davis and just grab one real quick. And then we're gonna make sure you get that lead. Viola Davis will get a lead actress Oscar. She has the potential. I've been saying this, that in my mind, I think that she will be the second Black woman to win Best Lead Actress. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like after Halle Berry, she's got to be next. She's got next. I can't envision another actress getting an Oscar like that in that category before Viola Davis. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things. Maybe that's just not how it works. Maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. But I just do feel like she is just, yeah, she's great. But I think Timothy is going to win. And I think voters, yeah, I think the ballet situation might have played a role in voters not feeling him. But I also think there was a lot of things going on with that campaign before that controversy. Because what people got to remember, I think the movie overall was not viewed in the best light because of so many factors. The Saudi brothers, they used to direct, they broke up, Josh Saudi and the other one. And so they split when they did this film. So this is his solo, I think this is Josh Safi's solo film as a director, and he did his own one. So there's some controversy with this film. There's also controversy about some of the other cast members, Kevin Leary, who's a mega supporter. There's just a lot of other drama going on with this film that I think made the film not necessarily as liked. It went 0 at SAG. It went 0 at the Oscars. It went 0 at BAFTA. Like, it's just not. And so I knew that he was in trouble at BAFTA because BAFTA is the British Academy Awards, basically. Like, a lot of the members are there. When he didn't win Best Actor at BAFTA, no one did in the category. That was before all the ballet controversy. I said, oh, this race is wide open. That's when I knew something is up. Because normally with BAFTA, like in SAG, but BAFTA specifically, it gives you a good forecast of like, okay, who's getting what. And so when BAFTA didn't pick anyone who won an Oscar, there was some actor who wasn't even nominated for an Oscar. I said, oh, Houston, we got a problem. This race is open. And so then it became, okay, well, who, if not Timothée Chalamet, who? And so as time progressed, let's be very clear. Let's get the timeline correct. Michael B. Jordan won the SAG Award before Timothée Chalamet even talked about ballet and opera stuff. Sinners had a momentum, and it made me realize, okay, what's wrong with Timothée Chalamet? There was already talks about him being a little cocky on the campaign trail. People wasn't really feeling him with a Kardashian girl. Like, he's with Kylie Jenner. Like, it was just so much going on with him. And I do feel like, in a way, he over-campaigned. It almost felt like he wanted it, and everybody knew he wanted it. And I think that when you put yourself as a front runner in a race like that, they'll go for the more humble, more charming person. Ethan Hawke's performance in Blue Moon was phenomenal. Problem was, nobody else really watched it. No one was really talking about it. So it just didn't happen for him. Michael B. Jordan was just the perfect person to win. He had a great, compelling, arc, like story arc. I mean, he's in this film, all the history with it, all the attention. It's a Best Picture frontrunner, which I tell people, typically when people win these awards, normally they're coming from a lead. One bow after another. The reason, so people are like, well, what about Jesse Buckley then for Hamnet? Hamnet, let me be very real with y'all. Hamnet would have been my second pick for Best Picture outside of Sinners. Do not sleep on Hamnet. I didn't really care much for One Battle of None. I mean, it was an okay movie, but it wasn't like my best movie, personally. I just didn't feel like it was like the best thing since sliced bread. Sinners was always my favorite top pick. But also, Hamnet also was a great film. And when I saw it won at the Golden Globes, that to me was a sign of its popularity. So Jesse Buckley was in a film that was in the conversation. Plus, there were no actresses from Sinners or One Bow After Another that made it to Best Lead Actress. Chase Infinity did not get nominated, and that was her debut film role. So that I wouldn't put too much weight behind people questioning her acting. I mean, for her to have a debut like that was pretty stellar. Um, but no, he was just the perfect person. He played twins. He played three roles. People keep saying, what do I mean by three roles? So he plays Smoke in Stacked, and then he also plays when Smoke gets bitten. So he plays a whole nother person with a whole accent and persona. So he played like three different roles in this film, which is a testament to his technique and acting quality. Is this his best role? In my opinion, no. But hey, get it how you live. People talk about Denzel with Training Day, which I think, in my opinion, that people really don't appreciate that performance, but I do. I think that that's the kind of role I wanted for Denzel because he transforms. He's doing something he's never done before. Denzel always played the suit and tie lawyer, doctor, father figure. I feel like two roles that I thought he played that was very vulnerable and different. He's played more different roles in recent years, but in my youth, I remember He Got Game. He played a trash ass father, and I thought that the relationship he had with the actor, the basketball player who played in him, Allen, who was not the best. He was a little flat, but this was a Spike Lee joint. He Got Game, but Denzel in that film was so different than anything I see him star in. Like it was just such a different role. And yeah. And so, Michael B. Jordan, I think he finally gave a role that was worthy of an Oscar nomination. I mean, Fruitvale Station was as well. Let me not. But, I think Best Supporting Actor was worthy for Black Panther. Don't get me started. The first Black Panther, I think he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He's had some interesting moments, but I think for a lot of the films where he tries to play something serious or leading or something of that nature, it just kind of feels super safe or whatever. I think he got his element a little bit. And I think, it was great. I was very happy. I loved his speech. He is now the seventh Black actor, and I mean, including actress, right? The seventh Black actor to win a lead acting role. There's only been 6 men, which includes him, and 1 woman. Halle Berry is the only Black woman to win Best Lead Actress. The 6 men who have won, who's won this category: Sidney Poitier, Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Forrest Whitaker, Will Smith, and now Michael B. Jordan. Look at that trivia. Look at me telling you. Look at me educating the kids. So, why not? Kudos to him. And then lastly, Best Picture. Best Picture went to One Battle After Another. Boo. It was kind of underwhelming, to be honest. I will tell you what made me cringe a little bit was Tiana Taylor being super, super excited about the film winning. She was like really hype. And I was just kind of like, girl, really? Are you really? But I think she's excited because in her mind, I think she thinks this is going to open up more doors for her. And I think there's a possibility it can. I think it definitely will definitely give her more media roles. I mean, One in a Million that she did a couple years ago. Me and Dr. Parks went to go see it, and it was a good film. So I'm open to it. I'm open to seeing, where that lies for her, for sure. I started to sense that they were going to win because Best Casting. I just thought Sinners was going to win. I mean, everybody had Sinners winning Best Casting. I don't think no one had on their bingo card. I mean, at least on this bingo card that I know, that One Battle After Another was going to win Best Casting when everything pointed to Sinners. I don't think that it should have won Best Casting, to be honest. But I guess they will get the credit because they had, both of them made cases. Let me think. Sinners had 3 actors be nominated. But when I think about One Battle After Another, they had a lead actor, they had 2 supporting actors, they had a supporting actor. They had 4 actors nominated. So logically, the casting director was able to get 4 people nominated from the film with 1 potential. Chase Infinity was also looking like she could have been nominated. So you had like 5 actors that throughout most of the awards period was getting nominated left and right for awards. 5. I guess one could argue that's some good casting,
So I could see the case, for that. But then I think about Sinners, and Sinners had three strong performances by three different actors, and I think their overall ensemble as a group was great. Not just one individual or a couple individuals. I think that the whole cast was good, even those who were not in the lead principal performances. So I could see a case for both, but overall, I'm happy. I think it was not a wipeout. I think a lot of people thought that Sinners was going to have a color purple moment, but to be honest, one bow after another won 5 Oscars. It won Best Casting. Um, what else it won? It won Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Casting, Best Supporting Actor. What other Oscars did it win? Um, Best Director, Best Picture. Yeah, I think that was all. And then Sinners won 4. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. So yeah, okay, it won 6. Okay, it won 6. My bad. It won 6 out of 13. Okay. So yeah. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, Best Screenplay, and Best Casting. Actually, nope, it won 5. Oopsie, somebody messed up. It won. Wait, who did this? Is inaccurate. Somebody is wrong. Wait, they said so. It did win 6 wins, but I'm confused. What was the 6 wins? Um, because there's some confusion. I think some people are giving confusion. They said that it won. Okay, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay. Okay, those 3 make sense. Um, and then Sean Penn won Best Supporting Actor. But everybody keeps saying it won 6, but I'm trying to remember what the 6 were. Okay, so one for Best Picture, Best Director. All right. Looking at here, Best Supporting Actor. Got that. Best Adapted Screenplay. Got that. Hmm. Best Casting. And then best editing. So it won 6. And then Sinners won 4 right after them. And that was for best actor, best cinematography, best score, and best original screenplay. So 4 to 6, not bad at all. Not bad. We'll take it. So yeah, I think overall they did pretty good. Not mad at that. Pretty fair. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it should have won. I think Sinners should have won. And if Sinners didn't win, Hamnet should have won. That's my personal take. But overall, it was a good award show. Overall, it was good. There wasn't any major controversies. I guess my one critique was that I mean, Conan O'Brien had some really great political jokes and really, really leaned into it heavy. But I wish the speeches were a little bit more meatier. There wasn't that many like bold speeches. Like there weren't really that many speeches that really said anything. Like to be honest, it was very safe from the actors on stage. There was a couple of speeches that stood out, but not too many. Like I remember the best foreign language film. That win had me like, yeah, for sentimental value, the homeboy was cooking. Javier Bardem in his remarks when he presented, but it wasn't that many. It wasn't. Everybody kind of played a little safe, They didn't really talk about anything. But overall, it was a pretty memorable, action packed, fun Oscars. So yeah, that's everything. So that concludes this episode. It's a long ass episode, but I gave y'all deluxe because y'all didn't have on the record this past week. So I'm going to take some time, rest, get myself together. It was a crazy weekend. I got some assignments to grade, got some baddies to watch, and as always, be well and be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.